course, fully funding of the military, which obviously is very important to me and to many others out there. Regular order. But yeah, we do need the Senate to play ball. We need the House is going to vote on a CR,
and just to remind people, you are an Iraq War veteran,
which obviously is very important to me and to many others out there. But yeah, we need the Senate to play ball. We need them to step up and do their job.
And just to remind people, you are an Iraq War veteran, a former Navy SEAL, so of course military funding is very important to you, as it is to so many millions of Americans. But that's the sticking point, right? That's what the Senate
and make sure that the defense is fully funded to protect us, to fund those folks as men and women in uniform overseas right now fighting for us. I think the American people need to contact their senators, of course, and make sure that the defense is fully funded. I don't know. Why do we have fund those folks as men and women in uniform overseas right now fighting for us? We're unanimous and bipartisan, and they just haven't taken up. I don't know.
Why does this all hinge on the military funding?
I don't know. I mean, why do we have 400 and some bills sitting in the Senate right now, 200 and some of which were unanimous and bipartisan, and they just haven't taken up? I don't know. We need a little bit of butt kicking over there to get something done. But the military, we have to deal with it. Secretary Mattis has been very clear about military funding and how it's hurting our maintenance, readiness, training, extending deployment cycles, which hurts our military families. So, our basic duty is to protect the American people here and abroad. So, the Senate needs to get off their butts and get some stuff done.
I mean, given that that's the sticking point, why are you optimistic that we shouldn't reset our countdown clock right now for Thursday at midnight?
Because look at the last shutdown, which was shut down over an issue that wasn't even had anything to do with the funding of the American government. So I think that Senate Democrats, for example, got burned the last shutdown. So I don't think it's in their mind that they want to have a government shutdown. And same thing with Senate Republicans. I mean, it's important not to have that to show that we can govern. And I think ultimately cooler heads will prevail and people will come together.
Okay, next topic. Because you're a veteran, I want to ask you: is not applauding for a president at the State of the Union address treason?
Of course not. Some would say that's pretty American, actually. No, it's not. I was there, of course. I thought the president did a great job in the State of the Union. I looked over at the Dems. I saw some things that I thought were petty. The one congressman got up and left. I think that's disrespectful.
Well, just to be clear, because we had Chris Collins on who brought that up, and I just want to be clear. He had made a commitment, we're told, to do a TV interview with Univision, so it wasn't a protest walkout. It was a commitment that he was trying to keep. So continue.
Okay, that's his story, no problem. But I saw some things that I thought were petty, but, not to applaud. Of course it's not treasonous.
So when the president says this, let me get your take on this. Listen to this. Hold on. All right.
Even on positive news, really positive news like that, they were like death. And un-American. Un-American. Somebody said treasonous. I mean, yeah, I guess why not? Can we call that treason? Why not? I mean, they certainly didn't seem to love our country very much.
Are you comfortable with that language?
I know he's at a political rally, and I don't think that obviously you shouldn't be saying that. And but I'll let the White House they can defend or speak to that. I won't. I don't think it's treasonous.
I know. I hear you. I mean, I understand, and you always, I think, thread this needle really deftly. But as a veteran, some people have suggested that it's dangerous for a sitting U.S. president to say that people who disagree with him are committing treason.
It can be. Words matter. There's no question about that. Again, it was a political thing. It seemed kind of flippant and jokingly, which, certainly not funny. But words do matter, and it is important to temper our tone and what we say. But, as I said, I think some things were a little bit disrespectful and petty, but certainly not treasonous. And like I said, some people would say that that's pretty American not to clap at something that you don't agree with.
Do you ever hear from the White House when you say something that is off message of what the president would like his supporters to say?
No.
And do you ever share with the White House your feelings about when the president's language goes too far?
No, I mean, I don't really have the opportunity to do that, so no.
About this memo, as you know, it's sitting on the president's desk. It's the Democratic rebuttal to the Nunes memo. Do you think that should come out?
Sure. Look, I think I'm for transparency. You have a lot of Americans, millions of Americans, who are very uncomfortable with this FISA warrant, with how it gets done. May not understand some of the issues with it, but there are people who are very uncomfortable with it, myself included. That's a lot of power given to an agency. So my point in saying that is it needs oversight, and that's our job. And some people may not like the political process, and I don't either. I think Schiff has been on your show and 200 other ones creating this narrative for the last year, which is very political. And when you see his memo, you'll see which memo is political and which one isn't. I mean, the first paragraph in his memo is political, and it just goes on to be like that.
But so are you saying the Nunes memo is not political?
I think that the Nunes, I read both of them, and I think that they were careful not to be political, but to try to be, hey, this is who it was, this is what happened, all that stuff. And you can argue on both sides and say it's political or it's not, whatever. My is in Congress to have that oversight. But yes, put his memo out. Absolutely. I think it's important to see both sides. Sure, send it out.
Congressman Scott Taylor, we appreciate you being on New Day. Thanks so much.
Anytime. Thank you.
John.
All right. Thanks, Allison. All eyes on Wall Street. Will there be another big day of losses? We have a live report from the New York Stock Exchange next.
Some people might try to tell you that this is an apple. It might even start as a joke. But when they say it over and over and over again, and people start to believe it, it's only a matter of time until someone gets hurt.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple to understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-885-1950 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-885-1950 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-885-1950.
Hi, Phil Swift here for the Flex Seal family of products. Everyone loves Flex Seal, the easy way to coat, seal, and stop leaks fast. Just a quick shot fills cracks and holes, stopping the toughest leaks. It's actually liquid rubber in a can. And with Flex Seal Liquid, you can brush, roll, dip, or pour for a watertight seal. Flex Seal Liquid starts out thick and turns into a super strong, flexible rubber. And with Flex Shot, you can caulk, bond, and seal virtually anything. Push the trigger to make quick repairs. Perfect for kitchens and baths. And Flex Tape is the super strong waterproof tape that can instantly patch, bond, seal, and repair.
Flex Tape's triple thick adhesive is so strong, it even works underwater.
Imagine everything you could do with Flex Seal, Flex Seal Liquid, Flex Shot, and Flex Tape.
She was the victim of the most bizarre kidnapping in American history. Was she a hostage? Or was she a terrorist? The radical story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
You always pay your insurance on time. Tap one little bumper and up go your rates. What good is having insurance if you get punished for using it? Newsflash, nobody's perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-888-760-3357 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Originally, Kristen was seen in a cancer center in this city after a diagnosis of a lung nodule was made.
I decided I'm going to get a second opinion, and MD Anderson is the nation's #1 cancer center. They put me in touch with Dr. Bowen.
We reviewed Kristen's case at our tumor board right away.
He took me seriously.
Kristen's a very busy young mom. She's got 2 daughters, and she's doing great.
I am so glad I trusted my instincts. My team at MD Anderson Cooper saved my life.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
U.S. markets set to open in a little bit less than an hour. This after the Dow's worst day since 2011. Dow futures right now pointing to losses at the opening. Let's get right down to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. CNN's Allison Kosik is there. Allison, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
John, this could be day 3 of big losses after that tsunami of a sell-off yesterday. It looks like big losses for the opening bell in about an hour. An hour to go, it looks like the Dow will open down maybe 600 points. If it does, that means the Dow will be in a correction. And traders that I've been talking to here at the New York Stock Exchange as they prepare for the day ahead, they say they're not sure if the losses would even stop there. What triggered all this? Friday, inside the jobs report, was what we learned about wages. Wage growth grew at its fastest pace in years. And for American workers, John, that's great news. But for Wall Street, it's not so great news because they see a big red sign calling out inflation. And inflation could mean that the Fed could be more aggressive in raising interest rates this year, which could make borrowing money more expensive. And, of course, inflation could raise the prices of goods and services where you see consumers start to pull back in how much they spend. So you see this sort of domino effect happening. You see that nervousness in the market. Look at the faces of these traders. They're nervous ahead of these markets. They really don't know what to expect today, John.
Okay, Allison, I'll take it. Thank you very much. Stand by. We will check back with you throughout the morning. So, an undocumented immigrant arrested after a deadly crash that left an NFL player dead. Now, the president is tweeting about this case, what he's saying. We have all of that in the bottom line for you next.
New year, new phones for the family. Join T-Mobile, and when you buy one of the latest Samsung Galaxy phones, get a Samsung Galaxy S8 free. Plus, unlimited family plans come with Netflix included.
Spectacular!
So you can watch all your Netflix favorites on your new Samsung phones. Whoa! Join the Un-carrier and get a Samsung Galaxy S8 free. All on America's best unlimited network.
I tried hard to quit smoking. But when we brought our daughter home, that was it. Now I have Nicoderm CQ.
The Nicoderm CQ patch with unique extended release technology helps prevent your urge to smoke all day.
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Every great why needs a great how.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic spine conditions? Are you ready to find lasting relief? Call Laser Spine Institute, the nation's leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain, and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery.
Call 1-800-216-BACK now for your free MRI review.
Take your first step in joining over 60,000 patients who found lasting relief at Laser Spine Institute.
When you're in that much pain and you live on painkillers, you really don't have quality of life. I feel like Laser Spine Institute was an answer to prayer. The heavens had opened up and it was like, I can live again.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-800-216-BACK now for your free MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits. TripAdvisor.
Is your AC busted, computer crashed, appliance broken? Then you need ARW, American Residential Warranty.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
Home appliance repairs and replacement can cause stress and cost you over $3,000 per year. But starting at less than $1 a day, ARW has home warranty plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics. Parts and labor included. When I needed ARW, they were there. My oven actually took a dive in the middle of making a big dinner for family and friends, picked up the phone, called ARW, they repaired it, dinner saved, that easy.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. It was so hot. I called ARW and they came out and fixed it right away.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, even pools and spas, and so much more. All you have to do is call or go to getahomeplan.com. Plus, ARW's partnered with Assurant to offer protection for all your new and used household electronics for just one low price.
I dropped my laptop and ARW replaced it with a brand new one, and all I paid was a small service fee.
All plans are fully customizable and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get a home security system valued at $1,250 free with any plan. And you can trust ARW to be there when you need it. Just call ARW and a licensed technician will be dispatched to your home. All covered repairs are guaranteed.
My refrigerator broke, and not only did ARW repair it fast, they even sent me a reimbursement check for all the food that went bad.
So come on, relax. Stop worrying about unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 1-800-341-4260. Again, that's 1-800-341-4260, or log on to getahomeplan.com today.
The opening bell on Wall Street rings in less than an hour. Things not looking so good right now. Take a look at that. Dow futures down more than 200 points, 216 points right now. It's been going up and down all morning long. Now, since the election, President Trump has repeatedly taken credit for the market's success. Will he own the big losses? Let's get the bottom line with CNN political director David Chalian. David, I keep looking down at my Twitter for that note from the president saying, hey, how come the media is not reporting the market's down 2,000 points in the last few days?
Right. I don't think you'll see that note anytime soon, John. I mean, obviously, we are seeing the very reason why Donald Trump's predecessors of both parties tended to stay away from talking about the fluctuations in the market, because the moment you take credit for the gains, you know that you're going to get some blame for the losses. But here's the thing. Donald Trump also has a unique ability to completely ignore what he has said in the past. And so I don't anticipate him getting somewhat tripped up by the fact that he touted gains in the past and now the market is going down. It's obviously not good optics for him to be out there speaking while the numbers on the screen are going down, but I don't expect him to be all that embarrassed that he touted the gains when the market was on fire.
That split screen was interesting, obviously, where he was touting it, and you could see the decline happening. But look, what the president, I think, would say is that the market has had all of these record highs on his watch over the past year, constantly breaking records, and that it's consumer confidence that he takes credit for. And so now that hasn't changed necessarily today.
Right. Yeah, and wage increase. I mean, remember, Donald Trump had tapped into a populist thing to get to the Oval Office, and it would make sense, and you hear the White House aides sort of striking this note in their comments, Allison, that, that the fundamentals of the economy are strong. I think that it would not surprise me if Donald Trump sort of came out and said, the wage increases that we're seeing, that's what I'm fighting for, the little guy, not for Wall Street executives.
No, although he specifically was going around the country telling people to look in their 401ks for the last year. But as you say, I would not expect him, to hold himself to account for his past statements. David Chalian, instead of tweeting about the market losses this morning, the president is commenting extensively about the case of an undocumented immigrant who may be connected to a vehicular homicide out in Indianapolis. Let me read you what he has written this morning. So disgraceful that a person illegally in our country killed Colts linebacker Edwin Jackson. This is just one of many such preventable tragedies. We must get the Dems to get tough on the border and with illegal immigrants fast. And then he says, my prayers and best wishes are for the family of Edwin Jackson, a wonderful young man whose life was so senselessly taken. Hashtag Colts right there. David Chalian, this has to do with a football player who was killed by a drunk driver. That driver, apparently an undocumented immigrant. Again, not surprising, the president trying to use this for political capital.
Not surprising at all. In fact, the only surprise here is that it took him a day to comment on it. When we saw reports come out yesterday that the driver was an undocumented immigrant, you could just tell that this was going to
counsel hadn't met the standard for him to testify. How does this play out over the coming week?
It's a really good question, John. First and foremost, I'm curious, how does it play out in the president's mind? How does he sort of react to the notion that his lawyers don't seem to trust him to speak an effective way with Mueller and his team? But I think that it seems we're shaping up here for what could be a legal battle over this. And, you know, go back to Nixon, go back to Clinton and look at the examples. But I think the country's in for another lesson that courts are going to have to weigh in on about this kind of constitutional issue.
It's a legal battle. They've already been fighting the political battle over this, though, for some time. And that's where I think where the memo and other things factor into the whole thing.
David Chalian, thank you very much for the bottom line.
All right, a lot more going on, including the market opening in just a little bit. CNN Newsroom picks up right after a break.
I chose Medi Weight Loss because it's medically supervised, clinically proven, and they created a plan just for me.
I went from a size 20 to a size 8.
Medi Weight Loss kept me motivated. I lost over 70 pounds.
60 pounds, I'm 55 and fabulous.
The Medi Weight Loss products and supplements helped me stay on track, and I lost 60 pounds.
You can lose up to 10 pounds the first week. Visit startmedi.com to shop online and find a location near you.
Ways to lose stubborn belly fat. The Roasted Core Wrap. 3, 2, 1. Not cool. Freezing away fat cells with Cool Sculpting? Now that's cool. Cool Sculpting safely freezes and removes fat cells with little or no downtime and no surgery. Results and patient experience may vary. Some rare side effects include temporary numbness, discomfort, and swelling. Ask your doctor if Cool Sculpting is right for you and visit CoolSculpting.com today for your chance to win a free treatment.
You take care of business. Let Office Depot Office Max take care of you. This week, all Office Depot brand paper is buy one, get one, 50% off. Plus, never run out with an Office Depot paper subscription. Subscribe today at OfficeDepot.com/subscriptions.
This is where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy. Are you ready? Atlantis. Bahamas at heart.
Book by February 14th for the best winter rates at 1-800-Atlantis or AtlantisBahamas.com.
This is the story of Green Mountain Coffee Roasters Dark Magic, told in the time it takes to brew your cup. First, we head to Vermont and go to our coffee shop and meet Dave. Hey. Why is Dark Magic so spellbindingly good, he asks? Let me show you. Let's go. So we climb, hike, see a bear. Whoa. Reach the top. Dave says Dark Magic is a bold blend of coffee with rich flavors of Uganda, Sumatra, Colombia, and other parts of South America. Like these mountains, each amazing on their own, but together, magical. All for a smoother tasting cup of coffee. Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, packed with goodness.
You're a rich girl, and you're gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money.
I'm a soldier in the People's Army.
The Radical Story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
The time to save is now. Your local Ford store's President's Day sales event is back. We're celebrating all month long with great deals on America's best-selling brand. Now you can get an Escape with 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,000 cash back. Competitive owners can get an additional $750 cash when you lease or an extra $1,000 cash when you buy. That means you can lease an Escape for just $199 a month. Get to the President's Day sales event at your local Ford store.
If ever you needed a definition of man's best friend, it's right here at Villalobos. Getting her off the street was just the beginning.
I always wanted to be part of something besides a gang.
There is a lot more work to do out here.
Big Bulls and Parolees, all new Saturdays at 9 on Animal Planet.
This program is brought to you locally by
Millie's Furniture, just what you're looking for.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Good morning. I'm Erica Hill in for John Berman and Poppy Harlow. Breaking news as we are just 30 minutes now from the opening bell. This after the biggest ever single day point drop in the Dow. Futures pointing to what could be another wild day. Here to talk us through it all, CNN chief business correspondent Christine Romans. Also with us, CNN political analyst Eliana Johnson. Christine, as we look at this, there is a lot of concern. We are 30 minutes out. Futures were really trending rather low, to put it mildly. How concerned should we be?
Look, it's going to be an ugly sell-off. We saw yesterday's big sell-off spill around the world. You saw European and Asian markets fall very sharply. And so there's a feeling of fear that is in these markets right now. And the feeling is this is a correction. The market is having a correction, the first one since the end of 2015. A long overdue correction is what this looks like and what this feels like. Let's look at yesterday, first of all. The worst point yesterday, the Dow was down 1,600 points. It's hard to even say those numbers. 1,600 points. It closed down about 1,100, the worst point decline in history. But remember, the market has gone up, 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 up. So percentage-wise, this wasn't even in the top 20. But look, the biggest single-day point drop ever in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but not even among the top 20 of percentage declines, about 4.5%. And that still hurts, though. And that's money out of the stock market. That's money out of your 401k, at least paper money out of your 401k, although I'm recommending people don't do anything here. You should be adjusting your 401k based on your time to retirement and what kind of asset allocation you need to have, not on one-day market moves, because you tend to make mistakes when you're doing one-day market moves. Here's why the Dow is falling here. Wage inflation concerns. On Friday, we saw wage inflation up about 2.9%, and that strong job support, that spooked the market. There are worries that the Fed will have to raise interest rates to cool down potentially an overheating market, and the bond market has been selling off. You saw a 10-year note rates hit a 4-year high, approaching 2.8% late last week. So this is also a bond market story. And what do I mean by that? I mean the stock market is correcting. The economy is still doing very well. In fact, it's so strong, potentially, the economy, that there are risks of it overheating. So you're seeing this disconnect now between the economy and the stock market.
And those are the parts we don't always talk about. When we're touting a strong economy, we don't throw in that warning, unless we're Christine Romans. Because you do. We don't always throw in the warning of, oh, hey, there could be a correction here. And Eliana, when we look at this, obviously a lot of blowback that we hadn't heard from the president yet, because the president was so quick and has been so quick to tout a strong market and to take credit for it. We know that when it goes the other way, most politicians are reluctant to do the same, to own that downturn. Could this be, though, a missed opportunity for the president? Because he could come out and say, to Christine's point, we were working toward this. It just shows how healthy we are. Eliana?
It's dangerous, I think, for the president's taking so much credit for the strong economy, and so many factors go into the economy. And we've seen the president, it's been a great pride of his presidency. And you're right, I do think we could have seen him come out and offer a steady hand. And we saw him at the rally in Ohio yesterday, and he could have said the economy has been so robust that we were due for some kind of course correction. But I don't think the president really has mastered the art of that kind of subtle or supple messaging. Instead, we saw him sort of lash out at the critics. And though he is quick to take credit for the economy, he, of course, doesn't like being blamed when it takes a turn for the worse.
In terms of that, Christine, as the discussion continues today, the headlines are obviously drawing people in. The numbers are drawing people in. Is enough of the conversation happening, though, around those little tidbits?
Well, what's interesting about the president's position in this? He's used the stock market really as a popularity contest almost. Like he's used this as a gauge of popularity for him, almost as if the polls are not showing the favorability that he thinks the stock market is giving him. So that's the risk to him in using the stock market really and taking credit for it. I have seen the White House start to change the language, right? You heard the vice president say that there are ebbs and flows. They're very proud of the stock market gains under this president, but that does ebb and flow. And you heard Sarah Huckabee Sanders say it's the long-term fundamentals of the economy that we're focused on. So that's the kind of language you typically hear from a White House. It'll be interesting to see if the president mimics that language too.
Christine Romans, Eliana Johnson, thank you both. Well, the president, while he may be weighing what to say about the stock market, is also, of course, dealing with this latest memo. He now has 5 days to decide whether he will fight the release of a Democratic memo or give it his blessing. That memo, which disputes GOP allegations that the FBI abused surveillance laws. This is White House lawyers are urging President Trump not to sit down with special counsel Robert Mueller over concerns he could get caught lying. Well, CNN's Abby Phillip is at the White House with more on that. A lot to unpack on this morning.
That's right, Erica. Good morning. President Trump is now in possession of that Democratic memo. And as he is deliberating on what to do with it, there are accusations swirling from Democrats that the president or the White House might decide to redact things for political purposes. Now, the president has 5 days to determine whether to block the release of the memo or to ask for certain redactions, perhaps for national security reasons. We also know the Department of Justice and the FBI will be looking at it for those reasons as well. But this morning, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders put out a statement emphasizing that the president is going to approach this in the same way that he approached the GOP memo that was released last week. She said, as stated many times, the administration will follow the same processes and procedure with this memorandum from the minority as it did last week when it received the memorandum from the majority. So the White House wanting to make sure that it's pretty clear that the president is going to give it a procedural look, but at the same time last week, we also know that the president made up his mind about what to do with the Republican memo without having even read it at all.
For internet? Shouldn't it all just be one thing?
To see what happens with that. Abby Phillip at the White House. Of course, Abby, thank you. I want to bring in now Democratic Congresswoman Demi Heck of Washington State, who is on the House Intel Committee. Sir, good to have you with us. Your fellow Intel Committee member, Mike Quigley, said he's not confident that the president will decide to release this memo. If he does not, as we know, we put this to a full House vote to release the memo. Are you confident that votes will be there?
The most trusted
well,
name
if
in news.
Republicans were to follow through
Closed
on their rhetoric
captioning brought to you by
commitment to
Mesobook.com.
transparency, I'm confident, and certainly that's what the
Mesothelioma.
Republican
It's all we
members of the
do.
Intelligence
With 7
Committee
offices
did yesterday.
across the country, let us
But
come
that
meet with you.
presupposes that
Call
the
us at
president won't release it, and that is a question that remains to
1-800-213-8000.
be answered.
Do you believe he will?
I don't know. There's nothing about the
Vice President Mike Pence arriving in Japan any moment before then heading to South Korea for the Winter Olympics. Before leaving, the Vice President became the second Trump administration official to signal a willingness to meet with North Korean officials. CNN's Ivan Watson is live in Pyeongchang, South Korea, with more. What's the latest, Ivan?
That's right. Vice President Pence, he's supposed to be leading the U.S. delegation here at the opening ceremonies of the upcoming Winter Olympics, but he is also bringing a tough message for North Korea.
So
Take a listen to what he had to say at Elmendorf Air Force Base
things
in
about
Alaska.
him that he doesn't like. I guess when pushed to the wall, I would predict that he would either redact it or refuse to
make
release
sure
it.
that
But
North Korea
frankly,
doesn't
Eric,
use
I think
the
there would
powerful
be an
symbolism
enormous
in the
political
backdrop
price to be paid
of the Winter
if he
Olympics.
refuses to
To
reveal
paper
to the
over,
American public the whole story.
The truth about their regime. We'll be telling the
we should
truth
point out,
about
too, that
North
you also
Korea
said last
at every
week,
stop.
telling the Seattle Times that
we'll be
we are
ensuring
inching toward a
that-
constitutional
that
crisis
whatever,
in terms of the GOP memo. There have been a number of folks
cooperation that's
who have
existing
said
between North and South
this is
Korea
a
today
legitimate
on Olympic
concern
teams
as we are
does not
looking
cloud
at
the
potentially more
reality
memos, as we heard from Devin Nunes.
of a
And there are concerns
regime
over not
that
only
must
intelligence
continue
gathering,
to be
intelligence
isolated
sharing,
by the world
how other
community.
countries are looking at this. Even national security, some have said, is at risk with the release
But
of
while
these
having
memos.
these tough
Is it a
words for
slippery
North
slope?
Korea, Vice President Pence
I
also
think the
said we'll see
slippery
what
slope
happens
is for
when
the
talking about
president,
whether or
this
not
White
there'd be any
House, and the
meeting with the
Republican
North
majority
Koreans
to take
here
their eye off the
at
ball
the Winter
and to
Olympics.
remember that what this is
Meanwhile,
really
the North
about
Koreans are
is
coming
getting
in
at
large numbers
Russian
here to
interference in the
Pyeongchang. A ferry boat
2016
arrived
presidential
carrying
election.
more than
Interference,
100
which, by the
North
way,
Koreans will be
Erica, we
performing
now all
in
know
concerts
and
in
have
South Korea
documented,
tomorrow.
has continued in
Delegation
other
of more than
Western
200
democracies.
people,
Even as
including
we stand here and
cheerleaders and a
speak,
Taekwondo
it continues
demonstration
down in
team
Mexico with their
arriving. This in
impending
addition
national
to
elections.
22
The midterm
athletes
is
who will
upon
also
us,
be
and we're
competing
behind the curve
in the
here
games.
in terms
North
of
Korean state
preparing
media
ourselves for
has come out
continued
really
Russian
hard
interference.
against
That's what I'm
President Trump in the last
especially concerned about. That's the
24
slippery
hours,
slope.
denouncing
We are
his
sliding
State
down
of the
at a
Union
very high rate of
speech,
speed.
and while also trying to reach out to the South Koreans and talk about unity, they're sending a bit of a mixed message. They're going to stage a military parade for the first time ever on the eve of the opening ceremony of the Olympics, when they'll show off their missiles, which isn't quite the message of unity that perhaps the South Korean government was hoping to receive. receive
I know
here?
that state election
officials seems like both North Korea and the U.S. trying to send messages at different levels at the same time.
But
Ivan Watson for us at the Olympics in Pyeongchang. Ivan, great to have you there. President Trump's lawyers reportedly urging him not to meet with Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team. The president's allies say it is a perjury trap. We have a debate you don't want to miss next.
At which time it was basically a great conflict between the forces of capitalism.
Running a business is not for the faint of heart.
We've kind of transitioned beyond
Office
that.
Depot
And now
OfficeMax is here to take care of you.
Global war between the values of Western
print
democracies,
services,
in which
done
we
right,
conduct free,
on
open,
time,
fair elections,
guaranteed.
in which we have confidence
Expert
in the
tech
outcome,
support.
and the forces of
And this
autocracy
week,
and
all Office Depot brand
kleptocracy,
paper
which
is
is what
buy
Vladimir
one, get
Putin
one,
is all about.
50% off. Plus, never
we are
run
going to have
with
to
an
move on to
Office
another
Depot
topic
paper
because we're short on
subscription.
time. I know a
Subscribe
number of
today
people
at
are obviously very much concerned about what will happen in 2018 in terms of security of the vote. When we look at what
Your
is
insurance
happening
company
in
won't
Washington,
replace the
as
full
we
value
know,
of your
a
total new
fifth
car.
CR
The guy
is going to
says,
be
"You picked
voted
the wrong
on, which is
insurance
from the
plan."
government
No,
through March
I picked the wrong insurance
23rd, as
company.
well as a full year of defense
With Liberty
spending. Will you
Mutual
vote
new
yes
car
on that?
replacement, you won't have to worry
So
about replacing
we
your
have
car
not
because
yet
you'll get the full
privy
value
to the
back,
details
including
of it.
depreciation.
I'm encouraged by some of the discussion
Switch and you
I
could
hear
save
around the Capitol
$782
today
on home and
with
auto
respect
insurance.
to an eventual outcome
Call
either today or tomorrow.
1-844-592-2089
Basically, though, I'm kind of
for a
like
free
most
quote today.
Americans. I'd sure like for
Liberty
us to get
stands
into
with
a
you.
habit of
Liberty Mutual
actually
Insurance.
adopting budgets and appropriations bills that last longer than our household laundry cycle. And that's exactly what we've been doing here of late. And I think all Americans hope that for their government because they know that's no way to run a railroad, no way to run a business, and certainly no way to run a government.
Well, we will see if that changes. I do want to get your reaction to this before we let go, sir. The president yesterday in Ohio making some comments about Democrats.
Talk to one today and see why we're bullish on the future. Yours.
Even on
This is a last chance
really
alert.
positive,
It's happening.
like that.
In just days, Publishers
They were like,
Clearinghouse will definitely
yes.
award the $5,000 a week
And
Forever
un-American.
Prize. Win, and you get
Un-American.
$5,000 a week for your life.
Somebody said
Then,
treasonous.
after that,
I mean,
someone you choose
yeah,
gets
I guess why
$5,000 a
not?
week for their life. This prize must be awarded
we call
on
that
February
treason?
23rd.
Why not?
So don't miss your final chance to win.
I mean, they certainly
Enter by mail or at
didn't seem to
pch.com
love
before
our
it's too late. Hurry, February 23rd. You could
What are
win
your thoughts on this
$5,000 a
comment,
week
President?
forever. Don't miss out.
I'm a breakfast
So,
person.
Erica,
But what's really important for you and
all seems to have
Location?
precisely one play in
Cleanliness?
this playbook. And it
Or
is
maybe the
attack,
quality of your
attack,
bed.
attack anybody that
Well,
doesn't
you're in
agree
luck
with him.
because Trivago's
For
got
him
you
to
covered.
suggest
Trivago shows
that
you how
any
all the
member
things you
of
like in a
Congress,
hotel
whether
stack
they're
up
a
against other
Democrat or a
hotels.
Republican,
Ratings
a
for
liberal or a
breakfast, location,
conservative,
and even
because they
cleanliness are
don't
calculated
agree
for
with
more
him,
than
is
140
either
million
un-American or
reviews.
treasonous,
I'll take that.
is, of course,
And that's just
simply
one more
not
way
the
Trivago
case.
helps you find your
Dare
ideal
say,
hotel
love to
for the
see him
best
make that
price.
assertion to
Hotel?
the face of
Trivago.
Seth Moulton,
She
for
was the
example,
victim
member
of the most
Congress from
bizarre
Massachusetts,
kidnapping in
served
American
four
history.
tours in
Was she
the
a
Middle East.
hostage?
But you know as well, Erica, it
Or was
was
she
the
a
Washington
terrorist?
Post, I think, that recently
The Radical
went
Story
back
of
and
Patty
calculated
Hearst
this
premieres
president
Sunday at 9
gave
on
misleading
CNN.
or false statements 2,001 times in calendar year 2017 alone. Almost 5.6 a day.
There are 7
And frankly, I'm
continents,
just going to chalk this up to
7
one of the
seas,
5.6 he
but
made
at Celebrity
yesterday.
Cruises,
Congressman
we'd
Denny Heck,
argue.
thanks for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
The New York Times reporting the president's lawyers are worried about an interview with the special counsel. Why? Why? They're worried the president could get caught lying to Robert Mueller, plus bracing for the market open following a record-breaking plunge. We're all over that.
If you've been
Bracing
turned down
for the
for a
market
mortgage
open
because of
following
creditor tax
a
return issues,
record-breaking
Cash
plunge.
Call Mortgage now
We're all
has
over
credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
You guys don't happen to know a good handyman, do you?
Maybe
Outstanding. Could you possibly do a background check on them?
Also, get a bunch of quotes.
Then book an appointment for, say, Tuesday?
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So to find and book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable after just 4 months, with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the
medicines you take. You do all this research on the perfect car, then smash it into a tree. Your insurance company raises your rates.
Otezla.
Maybe you should have done more research on them.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident.
Perfect car, then smash it into a
Switch
tree.
and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance.
Maybe you should have done more research on them.
Call 1-888-776-2147 for a free quote today. Raise your rates due to your first accident. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
This is Dave, his dog Cooper, and I'm Randy. We sell the most comfortable socks in the history of feet. Why? Socks are the most requested item at homeless shelters. So for every pair we sell, we donate a pair. To donate a lot of socks, you have to sell a lot of socks. How? Fix everything. Ditch the annoying seam, add our support, use the best cotton so they're soft as a puppy. Make socks like these and these and these. Socks so comfortable we've been able to sell and donate over 5 million pairs. Get 20% off at bombas.com.
Introducing the new 2018 Ford F-150 with best-in-class towing, best-in-class payload, and best-in-class torque. The F-150 lineup has the capability to get big things to big places big time. And things just got bigger. F-150 is now Motor Trend's 2018 Truck of the Year. This is the new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, pal. It is the bar. F-150 is now...
To most, he's Phil Mickelson, pro golfer. To me, he's, well, Dad. So when his joint pain from psoriatic arthritis got really bad, it scared me. And what could that pain mean? To most,
joint pain could mean joint damage. Enbrel helps relieve joint pain and helps stop further damage. Enbrel may lower your ability to fight infections, serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace where fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu.
Since Enbrel, Dad's back to being Dad.
Visit Enbrel.com and use the joint damage simulator to see how your joint damage could be progressing.
Ask about Enbrel. Enbrel. FDA approved for over 14 years.
A new report claims White House lawyers are warning the president not to meet with special counsel Robert Mueller. Sources tell the New York Times those lawyers are worried President Trump may be caught lying. I want to bring in my panel to react to that news. CNN political commentators Simone Sanders and Steve Cortes. Good to have both of you with us here. So in terms of this, Steve, we know the president as recently as last month saying he's looking forward to speaking with Robert Mueller, and now his attorneys cautioning against it. The president has said repeatedly he's got nothing to hide here. He wants to move this forward, wants to get it over with. So, does it have you scratching your head at all that now attorneys are saying, we're not sure we want the president sitting down with Robert Mueller?
No, it doesn't, because I think they both make sense. It makes sense that the president wants to tell his story because there is nothing to hide. There was no collusion. This is a collusion delusion. And so I get that from his perspective that he wants to have this investigation reach a conclusion as fast as possible. But I also understand his lawyers. Any lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, but I think any lawyer worth his or her salt will not submit their client to unnecessary investigations or to unnecessary interviews. And in this case, I would point out, by the way, that Robert Mueller is part of the Justice Department answers to the president. So the idea of him being the idea, well, it does. That's the way our laws work, the way our Constitution works. So the idea that he has to submit to his subordinate, I think, is fundamentally wrong from the start. If it is truly necessary that he be interviewed interviewed, then I would tell the special counsel office they need to pursue legal means to make that happen, to enforce such an event.
So you want them to subpoena the president?
Well, whatever legal means they need to do, yes. I'd like them to try, by the way. And by the way, there's a lot of case law, a lot of precedent where they would fail because executive privilege is real, and there's a reason for it, not just...
So you want them to subpoena the president?
Well, whatever legal means they need to do, yes. I'd like them to try, by the way. And by the way, there's a lot of case law, a lot of precedent where they would fail because executive privilege is real, and there's a reason for it, not just...
So you want them to subpoena the president?
Well, whatever legal means they need to do, yes. I'd like them to try, by the way. And by the way, there's a lot of case law, a lot of precedent where they would fail because executive privilege is real. For this executive, but for every chief executive, the president has an incredibly important job, and his job is not to be... By the way, there's a lot of case law, a lot of precedent where they would fail because executive privilege is
institution. They do not swear oath to the President of the United States. They swear oath to the Constitution, and that's important here because the Department of Justice is doing what they think is in the best interest of the Constitution, of the American people. And so therefore, it is well within their purview to do whatever they believe is important, particularly the special counsel's office, to get to the bottom of and end this investigation. The President's lawyers reportedly saying that they do not want him to be interviewed by the special counsel smacks of they don't want the president to walk in there and lie and perjure himself. I just wonder what is the difference between the president being so willing to sit down maybe a month ago or a year ago, and then his attorneys very much so not wanting him to sit down at all today. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think it is very rich of Steve to suggest otherwise.
And
lastly, we don't know if there's not any collusion. We only know what we know. We have no idea to know what Special Counsel Robert Mueller knows. And so, again, it is very rich, and I would argue extremely egregious for anyone to sit here and suggest that there is absolutely no collusion, because you just don't know. You just asserted yourself that you are not an attorney, neither am I. So we need to wait for the investigation and the facts, Steve. The facts.
Well, I know this. We've had an investigation going on, what now, about a year and a half, and there's utterly no evidence of any collusion. And why? Because there wasn't any collusion.
Well, we also don't have the investigation.
So we Donald Trump president of the United States. It was factory workers and coal miners and cops in states like Wisconsin and Ohio and Michigan. They elected Donald Trump, not the Russians. And it's time to end this silliness and get back to the business of restoring our
factory. And no one suggested that the Russians elected him. But the fact that that is the talking points that y'all passed out this morning is very telling. Look, I think folks should let this investigation work itself out. But no one's saying the Russians elected Donald Trump. But the fact that that's what y'all are offering up is extremely tough.
I will say on this one point, you're both correct. We don't know what is in the investigation. We don't know what they have found, and it's not over yet. So until those two things happen, and one has to happen first before we know anything, we are where we are. Let's move on to another topic, because I do want to get your take on a couple of other things happening today. When we look at the memo, because now we're looking at the release of the Democratic memo, which is, of course, now in the hands of the president after the Intel Committee voted unanimously. Steve, you were a big supporter of releasing the Nunes memo. Oh, looks like we just lost Steve. So, Simone, I'm going to toss this one to you. When it comes to this memo, there is a lot of political capital that is being used here, and there have been some serious concerns raised, some that we discussed on this program yesterday, about the impact that these successive memos could have when it comes to national security, when it comes to information sharing with allies, even just the way that they're looking at how this is all playing out. Is it smart to use up that political capital for this instance, Simone?
You know, look, I would love nothing more than to make sure that we are protecting, the men and women that are serving us at home and abroad, and protect their identities and protect the valuable intelligence work that has been done. But, Erica, the facts are that the Republicans went ahead and released this very inflammatory memo. And in the interest of transparency, it only makes sense to release the Democratic memo. I am quite confident in the fact that the Democratic lawmakers have noted that they want to work with, the proper intelligence officials to redact. The interest of transparency could be sensitive or dangerous, something that did not happen with the Republican memo.
Steve, you were a big supporter of releasing that Republican memo. Do you want to see the Democratic one out there as well?
I do. Listen, I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. The more information, the better. As a matter of fact, I would like the president to declassify as much as is practicable to declassify the underlying documents as well. I think the more we know about this situation as American people, I'd like the government to treat us like adults, not treat us like children, and know that we can analyze partisan memos from both the Republicans and the Democrats, know that they're partisan, and judge them accordingly. And the more information we know here, I think the better. I think, unfortunately, too, what we're going to find out more and more as we peel back this onion is that the Obama Justice Department, the Obama FBI, at the highest levels, were incredibly politicized and were really weaponized to use in a political campaign against Donald Trump, and that's a dangerous precedent for America.
Erica, I have to laugh because we didn't even know Donald Trump or his campaign was.
We gotta go, guys.
But Hillary
going to get cut off.
They tried it out this press conference. Come on.
Simone Sanders, Steve Cortez, appreciate it. Thank you both.
Erica, I have to laugh because we didn't even know Donald Trump or his.
Moments from now, of course, the opening bell on Wall Street. If futures are any indication, could be a bit of a wild ride today, Christine.
Maybe even a few hundred points off the Dow at the very open. You know, it's been a couple of days where you've seen all of the year's gains evaporate. You've seen a quarter of the Trump rally disappear, and a lot of volatility and fear back on Wall Street. Right now, we're looking at Dow futures about 241 points lower. That would suggest a 500 or 600 point decline in the Dow in the open if it lasts over the next 6 minutes or so, and it looks like it will. The concern here, quite frankly, is that inflation might be coming back. You saw wage numbers on Friday that were very strong in the Dow in the open if it lasts over the next 6 minutes or so, and it looks like it will. The concern here, quite frankly, is that inflation might be coming back. You saw wage numbers and that suggests that maybe the economy is getting a little too hot and the Fed will start raising interest rates more aggressively. All of these things feeding into a bond market and stock market that have been moving wildly. We'll have the opening bell for you right after the break. And that suggests that maybe the economy is getting a little too hot and the Fed will start raising interest rates more aggressively.
Before the Bell is brought to you by E-Trade, the original place to invest online. Go to cnnmoney.com/beforethebell to stay on top of the markets and sign up for the daily newsletter. Brought to you by E-Trade.
Let's get started. First word that comes to mind when you think of low-cost futures trading. Was it happy? What about a dedicated service team with futures licensed specialists? And what about being able to react to the 24-hour futures market with integrated trading across web and mobile futures trading? Still happy? What about a dedicated service team? Then it's time for Power E-Trade, the platform, price, and service that gives you the edge you need. E-Trade, the original place to invest online. Still happy?
Hiring was always a huge challenge.
Good.
Endless hours on job sites with not a lot to show for. Then I found ZipRecruiter. They figured out hiring. I post my job. They put it all over the web. And they send me the right people. Because their technology is smart. Then I found ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter often sends me the right person in 24 hours.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/smartest.
I found ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter often sends me the right person in 24 hours.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/smartest.
I found ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter often sends me the right person in 24 hours.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Good questions lead to good answers. Our advisors can help you find both. Talk to one today and see why we're bullish on the future. Yours. Good questions lead to good answers. Our advisors can help you find both. Talk to one today and see why we're bullish on the future. Yours.
Introducing the new Infiniti QX80. Infiniti, empower the drive.
Your brain changes as you get older, but Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember. But Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish.
It's time for the ultimate Sleep Number event on the only bed that adjusts on both sides to your ideal comfort, your Sleep Number setting. And snoring? Does your bed do that? Right now during the Ultimate Sleep Number event, save 50% on the Ultimate Limited Edition bed with adjustable comfort on both sides. And snoring? And soon. Visit sleepnumber.com for a store near you.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
Yesterday was pretty ugly. 1,100 Dow points lost yesterday. That's a record. Never have seen that many points. But remember, that's 4.6%. That's not even in the top 20 of percentage declines. Think back in 1987, that was 22%.
Yeah, it's really important to talk in percentages. When you talk about just big point drops, it can seem incredibly scary.
There's
but,
your correction.
10% drops back in the, as Christina is saying, 30 years ago, very, very normal. We may be going back to normal here.
Well, and you two just both brought up that point, both you and Stephen, and saying we're not used to this anymore because we have seen this gain and we've seen this rise for so long, and it's been sustained that we're out of practice of it.
I've lived through a lot of these. I remember the 87 crash. I remember what happened in 2008 and 2009. And what's strange about this, let's call it a correction, is that the fundamentals of the economy. I'll read you this headline from yesterday's Wall Street Journal. Corporate earnings shine amid turmoil. 80% of companies exceeded revenue expectations. So the companies seem to be healthy. I mean, profits are the mother's milk of the stock market, right? If profits go up. So you've got that. You've got a good jobs report on Friday. What seems to be spooking the market right now, and you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong, is this fear of inflation. But I just don't see it out there. I mean, there's been some increase in energy prices. Gold price went up a little bit, partly because when people get afraid, they go and buy gold. But, companies tell me they don't have pricing power. They can't raise their prices.
This is actually a really good point, and I think that this is one of the reasons that we're going to see a lot of volatility in the next few days. There's two storylines here. One is that, we are getting more inflation. Last Friday, we got wage numbers saying, finally wages are rising, and that's actually bad for corporate profits. It's a strange juxtaposition between Wall Street and Main Street. But there's another story, and Stephen's right on this. There's another story that actually, if you look at the kind of the longer trend, month by month, we're still not seeing enough inflation to be worried about. Now, this puts the Fed and the new Fed chair, which is a whole other thing.
The trial by fire.
I know, your first day, you come in and you get what? Wages are rising. And the markets may be testing him.
I want to get back to this point, though, about Wall Street versus Main Street. Because, we've wanted, as economists, the weakness of the economy for the last decade or two has been wages. They've been stuck. Now we get a good, decent wage report, and Wall Street freaks out about it. I mean, workers making more money and more people working does not cause inflation. And prosperity doesn't cause inflation. I mean, I just think there's a mindset that's wrong on this.
But the stock market is not reflecting the economy. The stock market can be wildly distorted from the economy, right?
Which I think it's important to point out because oftentimes that gets lost. People look at the Dow, they look at one index here too, and they say, "Oh my gosh, here's what's happening. We're tanking," and the fundamentals that we talked about are strong.
And we have not. There's been FOMO, fear of missing out, for so long, and now it just turned into fear. You could see fear of missing out again. You could find people find a buy point here and say, finally, after 3 years of
Ray Dalio, one of the world's biggest investors, is saying buy the dip. I think a lot of people are going to buy the dip. It depends on how much.
Oh my gosh,
we're still going.
The other thing is interest rate. The interest rates are because because obviously inflation and interest rates parallel each other. But, you know, I'm old enough to remember in the 70s when we were worried about, you know, 15, 16% inflation rates. Right now we're talking about whether, you know, a mortgage, you know, what's the 30-year mortgage now? 3.5%. Now it might go to 4%. I mean, those are hardly numbers for people to be jumping out of windows.
I think complacency is a big issue here. We have been in a bull market. We've been, for so long. If you look back 20, 30 years ago, 10% a year drops were totally normal. This market, actually, if it had grown at a historic level, it should be about 25% lower than it is now. So we may have farther to go.
Well, why do you say that? I mean, because earnings are
if you look at historic growth in this market, and you take out the kind of incredible unconventional policies that we've had over the last few years, the Fed throwing $4 trillion into the market, which is not happening anymore. Which is another part of this. The Fed's actually pulling back. We knew this was going to happen. Christine and I have been for the last several months saying, watch, there's going to be a correction, there's going to be volatility this year.
For people watching the show who are worried about their 401k plan, as we are, I mean, now is not a good time to sell. You don't want to sell on it. This is the first mistake in investing.
This is when you make a bad mistake. You should be rebalancing like every year for how old you are, how far you are to retirement, and that's what regular people should do. I will say one thing though. You used to advise the White House, the Trump team, and the president has used the stock market as a popularity test, and I think that is something that they're going to have to shift away from, because if you're going to
certainly last week,
no, honestly,
it's still up 35%.
This is why presidents don't say, "Hey, look, the stock market's great because I'm great." They don't brag about stock markets for a reason, because this can happen.
It's kind of a rookie mistake. I mean, presidents, frankly, and to be fair, this is true of any president, they don't deserve as much credit or as much criticism as they get.
Should they be? But if they are going to take some ownership, if you're going to own the rise, you have to own the fall. At the same time, even if you're not going to own the fall, Stephen, this is also a good opportunity to come out and say, look, I want to calm your fears. We heard a little bit of that messaging from the White House, but not directly from the president. Is that a missed opportunity?
You mean to talk about calm? I'm missing
just to talk about, hey, you may be seeing this dip, and I've been telling you how strong the economy is, touting it yesterday in Ohio on the road,
right? We'll see if he makes a statement today.
Right.
Because, we do get that correction.
The president to come out and say, hey, don't worry. This is a correction, and this is happening because wages are strong, we have strong jobs.
I agree with you totally. I mean, you should say exactly what I said. The fundamentals of the economy, wages, jobs.
Just to talk about, and Abby, and speaking of the White House, I want to bring in Abby Spradane at the White House. And Abby, as you were pointing out earlier, we were hearing a little bit from folks within the administration, not so much from the president himself. What was the word this morning? Happening because wages are strong.
The White House is just cautioning that this is going to be a little bit of a correction, that the market needs to absorb some of the economic news that's been out there. And you're hearing from senior administration officials a lot more temperance in the message, and you typically hear from President Trump, who has been in recent weeks touting the stock market very aggressively at every opportunity, arguing as recently as a couple of weeks ago in Davos that if his opponent in the 2016 election had won, the stock market would have been down. So what you're seeing from the administration is a little bit of what you've been hearing from economists, frankly, that some of this news is simply just the market absorbing some changes to interest rates, the wage numbers. You're hearing them just say, hold on. We haven't heard from the White House, from the president today on this yet. He hasn't said anything on social media about the stock market, but we'll be looking to see. We have a couple of opportunities to potentially ask him some questions today. We'll see whether he weighs in and how he weighs in, if he's able to strike that right balance and perhaps not say anything that might further spook the markets anymore, and perhaps calm some of the fears of people who are actually looking at their 401ks and wondering what's going to happen next.
Right now it's down to 63 points.
Just since we've been on the air.
I would just like to say, if you are now scrambling today for your 401k login information, this is not the time to do it. Can you just do it around your birthday or like in July or something? I mean, and if you are very close to retirement, you should not have all your assets in the stock market. That's risk. That's risk capital when you're toward retirement.
I think that people have been complacent about that too, and I'm the same. I mean, everybody's been saying, look, you got to be in stocks, you got to ride this market. If you had rebalanced, you would have lost money. But it's what Christine is saying is true. You've got to look at when do you need your money, what should the balance be, and I think a lot of people are going to be doing that now.
There is a lot of that going on because there is that fear, and it's often tough for people to not have that knee-jerk reaction.
Well, what's the old saying about the stock market? It's driven by fear and greed.
Absolutely.
And when you get these sell-offs, people get in this fear mode. Oh, I got to sell everything I have. And this is look, if you look at historically the dips in the stock market over the last 50 years, competitors, in most cases, they correct themselves pretty quickly. And, buying the dip, I don't think, well, that's, right now the market's down 100. It was down about 300, an hour ago. But so either if you're in the stock market for retirement purposes, you don't want to try to day trade. You don't want to time these things.
Sure. These moves are not mom and pop investors. These moves are derivatives traders who are betting against volatility. They are program traders who are, all of a sudden there's a spike in the 10-year note yield, and that corresponds with they have to sell some stocks. I mean, that's how that works. I will say half of Americans are not in the stock market, too. They care about their paycheck. And we have seen wages start to slowly creep up. The story of this year, I think, is going to be the wage story. Does wage growth really kick in there? And if it does, we're hearing from companies that they can't find workers. What's the worker story going to be in America? How are we going to get more workers
well, chase after jobs? That's a crucial point, because when you go back to basics, growth is two things. It's the number of workers you have and how productive they are. And we actually have, a lower population growth than we did when growth was much higher several decades ago. That's kind of a crucial fact that people forget in all the noise here.
Let me ask you a question before we let you all go, too. We were watching a lot overnight what was happening in the international markets. How could that be volatility there? And that was the question of what could that have as further impact now on the Dow? What we saw in international markets and what we're seeing now, are we starting to see that sort of level off a little bit, too? How connected is that?
So the international markets were reflecting what happened to the Dow yesterday.
Right.
So now the Dow is setting the stage again. Now we're watching U.S. stocks and U.S. fundamentals again, and so we're sort of resetting, right? So if you see the Dow close higher today, which could happen, God knows what's going to happen today, right? You could.
We're 10 minutes in.
Right. You could see European markets come back to. The European markets overnight and the Asian markets all, I think, hit their 10% correction, right? So everyone's had that correction. In Wall Street, they call it the pause that refreshes, Maybe that's what it is.
That's the old saying, when we sneeze, the rest of the world catches.
Oh my gosh, we have so many Wall Street sayings that
that'll have to be another segment, though. But I've been keeping a list here, and they're all very good.
The trend is your friend. You're going to try to catch a falling knife. Back to the European markets overnight.
Okay, you have to save some for the next hour. Christine, Stephen, thank you all.
Everyone's had that correction. In Wall Street, they call it the pause.
North and South Korea may be cooperating at the Olympic Games. Vice President Pence, however, is not letting that stop him from putting pressure on the rogue regime. But I've been keeping a list here. They're all very good.
She was the victim of the most bizarre kidnapping in American history. Was she a hostage? Or was she a terrorist? The radical story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Not letting that stop.
So check out my new house. We close on it. Oh, that's a not you? She also wanted your house. But you use Realtor.com. With more homes for sale updating in real time, you found it before she could. I want that.
Or was she a terrorist?
But it's mine.
The radical story of
Then I want
Patty
that.
Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Yeah. So check out my new house.
Let me see more photos of the house.
Okay.
Find your dream home before Not You finds it. Realtor.com.
Introducing the brand new South Beach Diet. I'm Jesse James Decker, and if y'all want to know how I stay in shape, I do it with the South Beach Diet.
Lose up to 9 pounds and 3 inches overall in your first 2 weeks. Order your 28-day plan today with fully prepared meals delivered to your door. Breakfast, lunches, dinners, even snacks.
I lost 38 pounds.
It's safe and healthy weight loss, easy to follow, and it works.
I lost 30 pounds on the South Beach Diet.
South Beach is a low-carb, low-sugar, high-protein program that burns fat and transforms your metabolism.
I lost 24 pounds.
Order your 28-day plan right now and receive a week of our all-new South Beach Complete Shakes free. They're packed with 20 grams of protein, no added sugar, a great source of probiotics, vitamins, and they taste great. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in free FedEx shipping. Lose up to 9 pounds and 3 inches overall in your first 2 weeks.
Trust me, the South Beach Diet works. Call or click right now.
Call 888-870-SAND or go to southbeachdiet.com and get 1 week of shakes free.
This is Bill. Bill's in sales by day, but Ring lets him fight crime at night.
Tell us, Bill, how'd you do it? Well, I was at home wanting to watch my favorite program, and I got a Ring notification. And I see this guy in my backyard, but I don't really know what to do, so I just go,
Call 888-870-SAND or go to southbeachdiet.com.
I may know karate, but Bill knows crazy.
This is Bill.
I do know
Bill's in sales by day, but Ring lets him fight crime. The Ring Spotlight Cam keeps your home and your neighborhood safe.
I was at home wanting to watch my favorite program, and I got a Ring notification. This guy in my backyard, but I
Life happens everywhere, like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists.
We want everybody to be the best they can be. And so at Massage Envy, we're committed to being the best we can be. It's required that we're carefully selected and thoroughly trained. And we're dedicated to maintaining a comfortable, professional environment for our clients. So you can be confident in us, and we're confident you'll be at your very best. We want everybody
now get a free session when you join Massage Envy.
And so at Massage Envy, we're committed to being the best.
With the Home Advisor app, it's easy and free to find home pros for any project. From a simple repair to a major remodel. Tell them what you need and get connected to top-rated local pros. Start your next project with Home Advisor.
When people ask me for whiter teeth, I always tell them, the thicker the enamel, the more white you're going to have. I would definitely recommend Pronamel Strong and Bright to my patients. Pronamel Strong and Bright toothpaste helps to actually strengthen the enamel. It's going to keep that enamel strong. It's going to keep it white. Patients get what they're asking for. They want whiter teeth. They're going to get it with this. Not only what dentists are looking for in the product, but also what patients are looking for in the product. The thicker the enamel, the more white you're going to have. I would definitely recommend Pronamel Strong and Bright to my patients. Pronamel Strong and Bright toothpaste.
We keep following the Dow here, and as you can see, well, it's fluctuating a little bit, but we are in positive territory. And the big question, of course, this morning was what would happen after the opening bell. Well, just about 15 minutes into trading now. And again, the Dow flirting, staying in positive territory for the last couple of minutes there. We did open down. I want to bring back now Stephen Moore. We did open down, obviously, a couple hundred points, and then we saw it drop to down some 400 points now pretty quickly after we hit that correction. I mean, we're flirting here, so, and again, we're 15 minutes in. It is very nice to see green. And again, how much should we read into this, though? In positive territory.
Well, just red again. So, you know,
we're back in red, so there you go.
I think everybody's trying to figure out this market right now. So, there are a lot of people that were buying on a dip, but there's still this fear out there. I'm just looking at the numbers as well. So,
I mean, we're flirting
look,
here.
I do think that the economy is fundamentally healthy. I think that you're going to see when we reach the bottom. I don't know, but when you look at the structural elements of the economy, figure out this market right now. So there are a lot of people that were buying on a dip, but there's still this fear out there. I'm just looking at the numbers as well. So
I mean, we're
look, I do think that the economy is fundamentally healthy. I think that you're going to see when we reach the bottom. I don't know, but when you look at the structural elements of the economy, figure out this market right now. So there are a lot of people that were buying on a dip, but there's still this fear out there. I'm just looking at the numbers as well. So
I mean, we're
look, I do think that the economy is fundamentally healthy. I think that you're going to see when we reach the bottom. I don't know, but when you look at the structural elements of the economy, figure out this market right now. So there are a lot of people that were buying on a dip, but there's still this fear out there. I'm just looking at the numbers as well. So
I mean, we're
look, I do think that the economy is fundamentally healthy. I think that you're going to see when we reach the bottom. I don't know, but when you look at the structural elements of the economy, figure out this market.
Important to look at the percentage and not necessarily at those four-digit numbers.
You know, that's a great point. I mean, so yesterday we lost, what was the number, like 1,200, 1,300 points.
1,100, yeah.
And people are saying, oh, this is the biggest point decline in, you know, history and so on.
Day.
But if you compare that, for example, with in 1987, when the Dow fell by less points, in percentage terms, it was about a 5 or 6 point decline yesterday, but it was like a 15% decline, you know, before. So you got to look at the percentage declines, not the number, because not, you know, when you're down 25,000, 1,000-point decline is a lot less important than when you're down 10,000.
Right, exactly.
These are just math.
Right, that basic math always gets in the way, doesn't it? Also want to bring in Christine Romans who's with us now. So Christine, as we're watching this, and I know you're listening to the discussions, a lot of what you and I have talked about both on and off the air, as we're watching this, I mean, is there a sense that this is what the day will be, back and forth between red and green?
Yeah, it could very well be, or you could find a whole bunch of buying here, because I was talking to you about FOMO, fear of missing out. just a couple of weeks ago, the story was, I didn't get into the stock market. Is it too late to buy? You know, there was just this complacency and this greed, this need to get in the stock market, and it switched really quickly and turned just into fear, and it's switching again when you're finding buyers here right now. I will say that I think a lot of this is not mom and pop investors. It's not you and I tweaking our 401k. This is a big, huge market. There are people computer trading. You saw a big move in the bond market that sparked selling in the stock market. There were derivatives bets against volatility, against the direction of volatility. That was something we saw play out and make things a little more magnified yesterday. The fundamentals of the economy are strong, and I want to say that. I mean, this is the year to get a wage increase or a raise, right? This is the year where you're going to have an unemployment rate that could fall below 4%. So the economy here is strong. Corporate profits are strong, and I think we should just remind people that.
You know, Christine, can I make a quick point on this? You know, because she knows the fundamentals very well. I mean, people are worried about interest rate increases, right? That's one of the reasons we had the stock market fall. And yet, you know, the interest rates are still very low. I mean, you're not going to make a lot of money buying bonds right now, right? And so I think people are starting to realize, wait a minute, shifting into bonds and getting a 3% interest rate, you know, you're not going to make much money on that. And so I think that's another reason you're starting to see a mini recovery here. I mean, whether it stays green, I sure hope it does, but you never know. This has been such a volatile market over the last week or two, but we're up 70 right now, and I'm praying that we stay in the green because, you know, a lot of people lost a lot of money in the last few days.
We are going to have to leave it there. We'll continue to watch though. That is not where you want to put your money, is a bet on what happens today on Wall Street. There we go. Christine Romans, even more appreciated. We will continue to watch this throughout the day. Quick break here. We're back on the other side. That is not where you want to put your money.
Packed for any occasion. Joseph A. Bank's Super Tuesday sale and save up to 70% store-wide. $19.05 in executive suits, $199. And all dress shirts, $39. And an extra 50% off all clearance. The Super Tuesday sale, only at Joseph A. Bank.
Hiring was always a huge challenge. Endless hours on job sites with not a lot to show for. Then, I found ZipRecruiter. They figured out hiring. I post my job. They put it all over the web, and they send me the right job sites because their technology is smart. Then I found ZipRecruiter. They figured out hiring. ZipRecruiter often sends me the right person in 24 hours.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/smartest.
ZipRecruiter often sends me the right person.
What can a president do in 30 seconds?
The smartest way to hire.
He can fire an FBI director who won't pledge his loyalty. He can order the deportation of 1 million immigrant children. What can a president? He can threaten an unstable dictator armed with nuclear weapons. He can go into a rage and enter the nuclear launch codes. How bad does it have to get before Congress does something with nuclear weapons? He can go into
volatile markets, something we all think about as we head into retirement. It's why Bright House Financial is committed to help protect what you've earned and ensure it lasts. Introducing Shield Annuities, a line of products that allow you to take advantage of growth opportunities while maintaining a level of protection in down markets, so you can head into retirement with confidence. Talk with your advisor about Shield Annuities from Bright House Financial, established by MetLife.
You do all this research on a perfect car, then smash it into a tree. Your insurance company raises your rates. Maybe you should have done more research on them.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident.
Smash it into a tree.
Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-888-776-2147 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
It can power your apps with public services without starting from scratch. It brings your business up to speed, doing more with systems you have in place. It can bring all your apps to life and run them within your data center. It is the new IBM Cloud Private, the cloud that's designed for your data. AI ready, secure to the core. The IBM Cloud is the cloud for smarter business. IBM Cloud Private, the cloud that's designed for your data. AI ready, secure to the core. The IBM Cloud is the cloud for smarter business.
The Radical Story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
The time to save is now. Your local Ford store's President's Day sales event is back. We're celebrating all month long with great deals on America's best-selling brand. Now you can get an Escape with 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,000 cash back. Competitive owners can get an additional $750 cash when you lease or an extra $1,000 cash when you buy. That means you can lease an Escape for just $199 a month. Get to the President's Day sales event at your local Ford store.
If ever you needed a definition of man's best friend, it's right here at Villalobos. Getting her off the street is just the beginning.
I always wanted to be part of something besides a gang.
There is a lot more work to do out here.
Pitbulls and Parolees, all new Saturdays at 9 on Animal Planet.
This program is brought to you locally by
Pitbulls and Parolees, all new Saturdays at 9 on Animal Planet.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Vice President Mike Pence is on a mission at the Winter Olympics in South Korea. The White House says he wants to make sure the pressure on Pyongyang intensifies and that Kim Jong-un isn't able to normalize his regime through propaganda at the Games. Pence, though, is not ruling out talks with North Korean officials. Ivan Watson is in Pyongyang, South Korea. Ivan, and that Kim Jong-un isn't able to normalize his regime.
That's right. Mike Pence on his way here and trying to create a counter-narrative, saying he's going to be telling the truth at every stop. He tried to do this in Alaska. He's just landed in Japan. He basically said that he's going to be highlighting North Korea's dismal human rights record and saying, don't be fooled by the fact that they're cooperating, that they'll be attending the upcoming Winter Olympics here in Pyeongchang, that the international community must continue to isolate North Korea to force it to give up its nuclear weapons. But he did leave the door open. He said, we haven't requested a meeting with the North Korean delegation that'll be attending the Olympics, but we'll see what happens. So kind of sending mixed messages, a tough line, but also saying he might be willing to talk if they bump into each other, say, at a skiing event here. Meanwhile, the North Koreans are coming in large numbers. A ferry boat just landed in South Korea with a 140-member orchestra that's going to be performing here. There'll be a high-level North Korean delegation, and North Korean state media has been firing back at President Trump's State of the Union speech with some really insulting terms, calling him an old lunatic, as they have in the past, and then going one step further, saying, quote, he cannot deodorize the nasty smell from his dirty body woven with fraud, sexual abuse, and other crimes. What's interesting in this is that, aside from the insults, the North Korean state media really didn't like the fact that President Trump highlighted the bad human rights record, that he profiled and brought forward defectors who talked about terrible human rights abuses, and North Korean state media insisted that the system in North Korea is just and dignified. Erica?
Ivan Watson for us in Pyeongchang. We'll continue to watch that. Ivan, thank you.
North Korean state media insisted.
We are following breaking news out of Washington. Moments from now, we will hear from House Republican leadership. Also, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin on the Hill today. Will he have anything to say about the markets? We're on top of it all. We are following breaking news out of Washington. Moments from now, we will hear from House Republican
leadership. If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
My mom's pain from moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis was intense. I wondered if she could do the stuff she does for us, which is kinda a lot. And if that pain could mean something worse.
Joint pain could mean joint damage. Enbrel helps relieve joint pain and helps stop further damage. Enbrel may lower your ability to fight infections. Serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace where fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu.
Since Enbrel, my mom's back to being My mom.
Visit Enbrel.com and use the joint damage simulator to see how joint damage could progress. Ask about Enbrel. Enbrel. FDA approved for over 18 years.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. We founded Harry's because we were tired of paying for overpriced razors. So we designed our own razor. It's German engineered to give you a close, comfortable shave for around $2 a blade. I think you're supposed to say that.
Decide for yourself with a trial offer at Harry's.com.
This is a great testimonial. So we designed our own razor. It's German engineered to give you a close, comfortable shave for around $2 a blade. I think you're supposed to say that.
Decide for yourself with a trial offer at Harry's.com.
This is a great testimonial. So we designed our own razor. It's German engineered to give you a close, comfortable shave for around $2 a blade. I think you're supposed to say that. Decide for yourself.
Good questions lead to good answers. Our advisors can help you find both. Talk to one today and see why we're bullish on the future. Yours.
Don't have vision coverage through work? Look forward to Clarity.
Talk to one today
when it matters most.
Thank you, VSP.
VSP Individual Vision Plans offers coverage you can buy on your own with the lowest out-of-pocket costs on eye exams and eyewear. When it matters most.
That's so beautiful.
VSP Individual so you won't miss any of life's little moments. Buy on your own. Go to VSPdirect.com to see better. For life, for less.
Some people might try to tell you that this is an apple. It might even start as a joke. But when they say it over and over and over again, and people start to believe it, it's only a matter of time until someone gets hurt. And over and over again, and people start to believe it, it's only a matter of time.
So you're looking for male customers ages 25 to 54 who live within 5 miles of your business, like these two and that guy. Or maybe you want to reach women ages 18 to 34 who are interested in fitness. Namaste. Whichever audience you're looking for, we'll find them. We're the finders. We work here at Comcast Spotlight, and we have the best tools for getting your advertising message out there. Anywhere, any way your audience watches, consider them found. We're the finders.
We know life can be hectic. That's why at Xfinity, we've been working hard to simplify your experiences with us. Now with instant text and email updates, you'll always be up to date. You can easily add premium channels so you don't miss your favorite show. And with just a single word, find all the answers you're looking for. Because getting what you need should be simple, fast, and easy. Download the Xfinity My Account app or go online today.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Fast, and easy. Download the Xfinity My Account app or go online today.
This is CNN.
Good morning. I'm Erica Hill in for John Berman and Poppy Harlow. We are half an hour into the trading day on Wall Street. As one of our producers just said, if you've ever bungee jumped, you might feel at home right now. A day after the biggest single day point drop in the history of the Dow, blue chips plunging another 500 plus at the open before surging, as you can see there on your screen, into the green. We are also taking stock of Congress at this hour. A new government funding deadline is looming, of course, this week, as an immigration deal is in limbo. Republican leaders of the House due to brief reporters any moment now. We begin, though, with the markets. CNN's Christine Roman. So, Christine, as we're looking at this, everybody wants to know why, what's next. Easier to ask than to answer.
Yeah, well, look, stocks don't just go straight up forever, and that's what we've learned over the past few days. You have a bond market, the bond market yield started to go up. That spooked stock market investors. Yesterday was a really terrible day. 1,175 points dropped off the Dow yesterday. That is, the worst point loss in history, but not even in the top 20 of percentage losses. That was about a 4.6% percentage loss. Market open this morning continued with that selling, and then boom, found buyers and bounced. So this is a return of volatility in the stock market, a stock market that has not had a correction since 2015. We have seen the market over the past few days now officially lose 10% from the recent high. That is the textbook definition of a correction, and those can be healthy in a stock market. The stock market is not reflecting right now the fundamentals of what's happening in the economy. The economy is strong. The job market is strong. We're starting to see some wage inflation, and that caused some fears in the bond market about inflation, and that's what sort of triggered all of this. But again, Erica, we've gone so long without a correction, a couple of years without a correction, that one was very long overdue. How it's going to close, I have no idea. If you have a 401k, just, read a book. Read a book today, I mean, if you're very close to retirement, you should not have all of your money in the stock market. That is a tried and true fact. If you have money that you can't live without, it should not be in the stock market. But if you have a well-designed portfolio for retirement, just don't worry. All right. Don't worry, you're not worried.
I'm not worried at all, because I just turn to you and you make me feel better. Christine, thank you. I want to turn now to CNN's Christina Alessi, who's on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. As we've been talking about all this morning, the market, it is said, moves on to emotions, greed, and fear. Which of those two are you seeing this morning? I want to turn now to CNN's Christina Alessi.
Well, we're seeing basically a reset right now. I think a lot of investors this morning are seeing basically, they're saying we went too far too fast in the market, and this is a natural correction, as Christine said, that was in part overdue. And what's really remarkable here is that we've had a tremendous rally in stocks over the last year, and don't forget, this has been an 8-year rally. So at some point, the day was going to come where we had to have a correction. What spooks investors a little bit is violent turns of events, like yesterday where we saw that drastic drop at 3 o'clock. That's what spooks investors. But look, the mood overall is stability breeds instability. So things were just too calm for too long. Underlying all of this, as Christine pointed out, is a fundamentally healthy economy. I mean, what sparked this downturn in part was a strong jobs number, ironically, the fact that wages showed increases, and that sparked fears of inflation, which would actually potentially cause the Fed to raise rates at a much higher, much faster than expected. So that's what's going on here. And right now we're monitoring things, but we've rebounded quite a bit, and we're just going to keep an eye on it today.
All right, sounds good. Christina Alessi, live there at the NYSE. Thank you.
That's what's going on here.
Also this morning, a new deadline for President Trump. He now has 5 days to decide whether to release a Democratic memo, which is a response to those GOP allegations in the Nunes memo that the FBI abused surveillance laws. This is White House lawyers are urging the president not to sit down with special counsel Robert Mueller over concerns he could be caught lying. CNN's Caitlin Collins joins us now live. Caitlin, so this morning we're hearing from the White House about possibly releasing this memo. Do we know which way it's leaning?
No, the fate of that memo is still uncertain right now, Erica, but we do know that the White House has received that memo. The president now has 5 days to decide whether he's going to block the release of that memo. And the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, issued a statement this morning saying they had the memo and adding, as stated many times, the administration will follow the same process and procedure with this memorandum from the minority as it did last week when it received the memorandum from the majority. So two things to keep in mind here, Erica, is that there will be serious backlash if the White House tries to block the release of this memo, especially even though the White House is maintaining they're using the same process as they did with the Republican one last week. We know that the president had decided to release that memo before he had even read the memo. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then secondly, there will almost certainly be outcry as well if there are some White House initiated redactions for this memo, as there were none last week with the Republican memo.
We will be watching for that. Meantime, separately, the New York Times reporting, Caitlin, that White House attorneys do not want the president to sit down with Robert Mueller. We know the president has said previously he's looking forward to it. What is the latest on that this morning?
Well, yeah, the president has said publicly he's happy to sit down with them, looking forward to it, but quickly, the president's lawyer, John Dowd, said really it's up to him if the president is going to sit down with Mueller. But this New York Times reporting, we're seeing that the president's lawyers do not think that's a good idea. And then we've also heard from some of the president's outside advisors, Chris Christie, Newt Gingrich, that they don't believe the president should sit down with Mueller as well. So that's where we are right now. But the president has said publicly he's willing to sit down with him.
We will be watching to see what happens. Caitlin Collins, thank you. I want to turn this now over to our panel, CNN political analyst Jackie Kucinich and Molly Ball, and CNN senior political analyst David Gergen. As we look at all of this, David, and we're seeing this reporting from the New York Times, there is a concern on about a possible subpoena if the president does not sit down with David Mueller. How realistic is that? And where could that end up? Because really it's a gamble for both the White House and for Robert Mueller on that.
I think it's less of a gamble for Mueller than it is for President Trump about where he sits down with Bob Mueller is clearly going to call the president to voluntarily testify. Come in with his lawyers, sit down around the table, and go through the thing. And that way vulnerability for the president if he forgets or something or mistakes. But if he does not, then the likelihood is very high that Mueller will do what he would do in a standard case, and that is issue a subpoena and put the president in front of a grand jury. And the danger for the president there is he will not have his lawyers by his side to talk to him about the answers before he gives them. He's sort of out there on his own with, he's a trapeze artist without a net.
And how much could his comments come back to hurt him, where he has said publicly, I look forward to sitting down with Robert Mueller. He has said repeatedly, I have nothing to hide.
Well, I think that's a real problem for him now, because once he says, and I'm glad he did say, I'm happy to do it, I'll sit down with him. And if his lawyers then veto it, it looks as if that was a dodge. It was a two-step, I really want to do it. But these guys over here, they're so smart, and they really think that for the country's sake, I should do it. I don't think that's going to fly with the country. Same way with this memo, release of the memo. His whole party is that all the Republicans on that committee said, release this second memo. How can he fuck his party on that? His instinct is going to be, I don't want to do it. His preference will be, I've already been vindicated, I should have to do this. But I think the politics of it make it imperative.
The politics seem to be overshadowing everything we talk about these days, as we know. Even the markets, yes. But picking up on your point there about this memo, and if the president decided not to release it, of course, then the next option is that it can be put to a full House vote. And there will be a lot of pressure on Republicans, especially those who vote. Yes, but picking up on your point there about this memo, and if the president decided not to release it, of course, then the next option is that it can be put to a full House vote. And there will be a lot of pressure on Republicans, especially those who vote. Yes, but picking up on your point there about this memo, and if the president decided not to release it, of course, then the next option is that it can be put to a full House vote. And there will be a lot of pressure on Republicans, especially those who vote. Yes, but picking up on your point to release it on the Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far? Intel committee. Jackie, is there the stomach in Washington among Republicans to potentially go against the president if it got that far?
Here they're caught up in this craziness, mired in this kind of debate. So I think there's enormous public interest and enormous public desire to get this resolved and move on.
But is that really trickling down? Because we'd even seen, even just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the polling even when it comes to what to do with Dreamers and the overwhelming support among the American public. And a lot of that seems to get lost somehow in translation in terms of getting that information about how your constituents really feel to lawmakers.
Well, I think that what we know in the last couple of months is that when the Republican-led Congress actually passed the tax bill, their favorability ratings went up. The president's favorability ratings went up. So showing that you can actually govern when you have a majority does make a difference to them politically. Right now, they're caught up in the spokes of the wheel. I think it's nuts what's going on right now. And I must say, I don't understand tax bill. Every time in the past when we're in a situation like this, the president of the United States weighs in. He may do it behind the scenes, but he weighs in as a leader. Where is the leadership on this to get it done, to get this budget straightened out?
And it's not weighing, in terms of not weighing in, Jackie. I mean, what is the sense there? Because not only would a lot of people like to hear from the president on this, but there's also the reality that we are staring down midterm elections. So if nothing else, that is incentive for lawmakers here to get something done. And yet, here we are in terms of not weighing.
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because yes, it's incentive for some lawmakers to get something done. But when you look at particularly conservative Republicans, if they're not getting what they want on the issue of immigration, which has become kind of the third rail in some districts, the closer the midterms are, the more they're going to dig in their heels. And as far as the president is concerned, when the president has weighed in the recent past, it sort of obscured the picture. He said that he did want a deal on DACA with HART, and then was, as Molly said, started throwing in legal immigration into the mix. And it seems like lately he's been siding more with the hardliners, which is going to make it an extremely hard thing to pass the Senate when you're talking about immigration or even getting some kind of pathway for these DACA recipients. So far, the president has just made a mess of things when he's weighed in, because he hasn't been able to make up his mind and take a consistent position.
Molly, before I let you go, I do want to get just a sense of, in Washington, how this issue of the market is playing out. So 2 days of losses, which we're looking right now, I'm just looking out of the corner of my eye. At the moment, the Dow back in the green.
Right. Well, and I think that kind of like people on the stock floor, there's a lot of just nervousness, trepidation, not knowing where this is going to go, not knowing how it's going to play politically. A lot has been said about, how much the president touted the stock market when it was going up, and now he's sort of conspicuously silent. But it does appear to be the case that, as the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, said yesterday, the economy is still strong underneath all of this.
Molly, I'm going to stop you right there. We want to listen in because Paul Ryan just about to start taking questions here. Let's listen in.
Very clear about this. We will take a bill that the president supports. So we look, put it this way. President Trump made a very serious and sincere offer of goodwill with the reforms that he sent to the Hill. That is what we should be working off of. Those are the bipartisan negotiations that the majority leader is conducting on our behalf. So we're not going to bring immigration legislation through that the president doesn't support. We're working on something here in the House. We're working on bipartisan negotiations. It's going to be a bill that we support, that the president supports. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, Lisa from PBS NewsHour. Democrats say they do want to fund defense.
Great. We're going to give them an opportunity today. I think that's wonderful.
Do you not give any credence to their argument that non-defense should also receive an increase?
We have been trying to get a budget cap agreement for 6 months. And I would argue strongly that the reason we do not have a budget cap agreement which affects these issues is because they're holding government funding, particularly funding for a military hostage, on completely unrelated items that have nothing to do with funding the government. Casey.
Would you urge the president to declassify the minority memo?
Well, again, it's all about sources and methods. So look, what's kind of ironic about this issue is the Republicans on the HPSC committee, the Intelligence Committee, voted to declassify their memo and the Democrats' memo. The Democrats voted against declassifying the Republican memo, but not their memo. So I think what you see here is Republicans are for letting all of this information out there, provided that we scrub for sources and methods. The Republican memo was written to make sure that sources and methods were not compromised so that full disclosure could occur. We do not now know whether that's the case with the Democrat memo. It has to go through that scrubbing process. Here's what I would like to encourage all of you. You're the press. You're the avatars of the First Amendment. protecting a critical component of our civil liberties. FISA abuse matters to each and every one of us as citizens. And if our government abused the FISA process, a very unique selective process, which if mishandled could complicate and compromise in American civil liberties, we should care about that. So this is about making sure that our civil liberties as citizens are protected in the FISA court and that it is not politicized. Manu.
Last week, you made the case that the Nunes memo was separate from the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, I continue to say that.
But yet, over the weekend, the president claimed, quote, total vindication from the Nunes memo. Was he vindicated in any way?
Let me go back to what I just said. This is about FISA abuse, and this is about holding our government accountable, and this is about Congress doing its job and conducting oversight over the executive branch, which in this particular case has been given great power over us as citizens. We need to make sure that that power is used correctly.
Was the president vindicated?
Paul Ryan taking questions there, not answering one from our own Manu Raju about whether the president was vindicated, as the president said, in response to that Nunes memo, which was released on Friday. In terms of the memos, Paul Ryan just saying there, this is about protecting the FISA court. And not about politicizing anything that's going on here. David Gergen, would you agree with that?
I think that's the argument. I don't think that's the truth. I think this was much more about trying to discredit the Mueller investigation. The president has been telling people privately that he thinks it will discredit. And I think what's really important here to remember, the FISA court didn't act just once. It wasn't as if they were sort of led into a mysterious place where they were told untrue things. The government had to go back, the FBI had to go back on 3 different occasions after that. There were 3 different tests of whether it was appropriate to have this FISA ruling on Carter Page. And you have to show new information each time. You have to show new evidence that is worth continuing. So they had 4 times they convinced different judges that this was a good idea. It seems to me that's pretty compelling, but let's wait and see the Democratic memo, and then we'll know for sure where we're
talking. To your point, it wasn't one piece of information each of those 4 times.
Exactly.
It is a lengthy process.
Yeah.
David Gergen, appreciate it. Jackie Kucinich, Molly Ball as well. Thank you all. Still ahead, Attorney General Jeff Sessions is calling for a fresh start at the FBI. So what does that mean for the Bureau? Plus, we are keeping a close watch on the markets, as you just saw on your screen here. Now going red, a lot of back and forth expected throughout the day after that record-breaking fall on Monday.
CNN Newsroom, brought to you by Overstock.com. Beautiful new furniture and the latest in home trends, all at overstock prices.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and you are?
Matthew. Matthew Bubble Tummy III.
Getting judged on your name is tough. At Overstock.com, our name makes people think we sell overstocked goods. But it's actually everything you see here. Overstock has beautiful new furniture and the latest in home trends, all at overstock prices. So check us out and judge for yourself. This is nice.
All right, I brought in high protein to help get us moving and help you feel more strength and energy in just 2 weeks. I'll take that.
Ensure high protein with 16 grams of protein and 4 grams of sugar. Ensure always be you.
You take care of business. Let Office Depot Office Max take care of you. This week, all Office Depot brand paper is buy one, get one 50% off. Plus, never run out with an Office Depot paper subscription. Subscribe today at OfficeDepot.com/subscriptions.
I'm a fighter. Always have been. When I found out I had age-related macular degeneration, AMD, I wanted to fight back. My doctor and I came up with a plan. It includes PreserVision.
Only PreserVision AREDS 2 has the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of progression of moderate to advanced AMD, backed by 15 years of clinical studies.
That's why I fight. Because it's my vision, PreserVision.
Wow, Wayfair has everything.
Drop the mic. Everything I need? I'm done. Drop the mic.
Everything I need. Everything I
like. Wayfair. Drop the mic.
Everything home, all in one place. So get it done. Visit Wayfair.com today.
What do I want from my hotel? Well, that depends.
On my business trip, I want to be online and then offline. Weekend getaway, I want to stay in the heart of the city and enjoy my espresso at breakfast. Summer vacation. Every trip is unique, and your hotel should be too. With Trivago, you can find your ideal hotel easily and for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
If your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's symptoms are holding you back, and your current treatment hasn't worked well enough, it may be time for a change. Ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works at the site of inflammation in the GI tract and is clinically proven to help many patients achieve both symptom relief and remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, serious, potentially fatal brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. This condition has not been reported with Entyvio. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's treatment isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. In just days, Publishers Clearinghouse will definitely award the $5,000 a week forever prize. Win, and you get $5,000 a week for your life. Then after that, someone you choose gets $5,000 a week for their life. This prize must be awarded on February 23rd, so don't miss your final chance to win. Enter by mail or at pch.com before it's too late. Hurry, February 23rd, you could win $5,000 a week forever. Don't miss out.
Happening right now, Republican leaders in the House trying to beat the clock. Soon the House will vote on another short-term spending bill. Meantime, Democrats and Republicans still far apart when it comes to immigration. Joining me now, congressional correspondent Selin Serfati. Selin, good morning.
Good morning to you, Erica. That's right. This is a scramble on multiple fronts that are somehow all really intersecting at multiple points. You have the government funding, which runs out at midnight on Thursday night. And without Congress passing another spending bill, the government could shut down. Now, aides on both sides say that they think that this is something that can be avoided. But at this hour, at this moment, how they get there is very unclear. The House, they will move to a vote at 6:30 tonight to pass a short-term spending bill. That is expected to pass. It funds the government through March 23rd. It also includes 1 year of defense spending boost in federal funds for the Pentagon. But that issue is a non-starter in the Senate. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying that would be like barreling headfirst into a dead end if the House sends over that short-term spending bill, and likely they would strip out that federal funding. Wrapped up into all of this, and as the talks continue about potentially trying to broker some broader deal, is of course getting a deal for Dreamers, addressing DACA, which many Senate Democrats are pushing for. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said that he intends to bring immigration to a floor debate next week, as long as the government stays open and funded past the Thursday deadline. But what form that is, what exactly is the base of that bill right now is very much an open question. Lawmakers up here, Eric, are throwing up their hands saying we don't even know what that base bill is. So certainly a lot to iron out. Very short amount of time. Erica.
Selin Serfati, thank you. Joining me now, Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney of New York. Good to have you with us. Obviously, Selin, just laying out there for us, we know there is a busy, not just today, but next few days ahead of you here. In terms of this, what would be the fifth short-term spending bill here, where does this all end?
I hope it ends with us actually passing 12 appropriations bills in the Senate that we passed last September in the House and finalizing our budget, but I'm afraid we're going to probably be stuck with a continuing resolution that we will vote on tonight, and we will wait for the Democratic minority to decide if they want to shut the government down again, to take money away from our community health centers, to give unpredictability to our troops, to deny our troops raises and all the things that they would be doing if they shut the government down. And I'm just really disappointed that they haven't learned from the last shutdown that this is not going to be a good thing, not just for our citizens, but for the government's integrity.
Obviously, the pushback there is you're the party in power.
Yeah, we're not, though, actually. Under the 60-vote rule, of course, we don't have the extra, we need Democrats to join along with us and vote and support those. When you say that, yeah, I'd love to get rid of the 60-vote rule if we could and pass things on a simple majority so that we can continue to grow and take care of our military to secure this country. I had a very sobering meeting recently with the Republicans in our retreat with General Mattis and our Secretary of State Rex Tillerson about the importance of predictability in funding, especially for defense. My son is an active duty Marine officer who has described to me how devastating this is for our military and how much it puts our security at risk. Really don't want a fix for this. They want to use it as a club to say that we're against immigration. I mean, I'm a very strong supporter of immigration. I worked with our refugees coming from war-torn Bosnia as someone who spent a lot of time in the former Yugoslavia. This is just a mischaracterization, much like many of the things that go on in Washington.
What about some of the efforts that we've seen, though? So yesterday we saw this bipartisan proposal was going to be put forth by Senators McCain and Coons, and before it was even formally addressed, the president shooting it down. Is there enough incentive on both sides here to come together and to have a meaningful discussion and to at least work with a proposal as opposed to shooting it down before it's even formally introduced?
Well, you look at the legislation. The legislation is, I don't agree with what Senator McCain and Senator Coons support. I think it was terrible. I think what the president offered was actually a very, very big, very generous. It was much more than was in the Goodlatte bill, so-called Secure America's Future Act. But I think what the president offered was basically, amnesty after about 10 years to give security to our borders and to stop the visa lottery system, to end chain migration. All those things have been supported by Chuck Schumer, and many of the Democrats have not just supported, they voted for these things in the past. And you can just roll back on your old YouTube videos and find many examples of that and their voting records. So why are they suddenly now moving the football, like Lucy with the football in the old Peanuts cartoon? I start to believe the president when he says they really don't care about solving this problem. We do. We want a predictable immigration system. We want to get it done. We're willing to make compromises. The fact that the president went from 690,000 so-called DACA recipients to extend that to 1.8 million, I thought was a very generous offer. I thought it was really reasonable. What Senator McCain offered is out of this world crazy. I don't support it. We have an issue that we have to deal with, and I think the president has made clear that that's what we're willing to do. And I think a lot of Republicans don't like what the president offered. I mean, my first blush at it at the State of the Union was, wow, this is really generous. And I was just shocked. I had Democrats sitting behind me that sat on their hands, not seeing what the president was trying to do. And I think it's unfortunate that they don't at least look into the many proposals that are on the table other than the McCain proposal.
I want to pick up on something you just said, because you brought up the State of the Union, which the president brought up yesterday when he was in Ohio. And here's what he had to say about some of your fellow lawmakers on the other side.
Even on positive news, really positive news like that, they were like death and un-American. Un-American. Somebody said treasonous. I mean, yeah, I guess why not? Can we call that treason? Why not? I mean, they certainly didn't seem to love our country very much.
Un-American, treasonous, don't love our country very much. Would you agree with that?
I would say it was un-American, and they don't love our country. I don't know if I'd go as far as treasonous, but the president's before a large audience, and he likes to talk in colorful language. But I sat on the Democratic side, and I was frankly appalled at the behavior of the Democrats. I was inundated with text messages and emails from Democrats all across my district saying how ashamed they were of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi telling Democrats to sit down. The fact that they sat down when the president introduced a few couples where their children were killed by MS-13, a scourge that is hurting not only other parts of the country, but in New York State, the place where I call home. So yeah, I thought it was terrible that they didn't clap for very American ideas. And why? Why not? Because they're just about resist. And what does resist mean? Obstruct. They're not interested in dialogue. They're not interested in working with us and trying to come up with solutions.
Let me just ask you, because on the other side, in years past, there are always going to be times when the whoever the president is in power, the opposing party is not going to applaud everything that the commander-in-chief says in that State of the Union address for obvious reasons. We heard Joe Wilson yell out, "You lie." And yet those moments were not called un-American and saying people don't love their country. Is that dangerous rhetoric?
No,
people
I actually
go
think
for
you're
elected
mischaracterizing that. Because you know what I did? I went back and looked at some of the State of Union addresses with President Obama, which, by the way, as a Republican, I was upset about many of the things he said as a small business owner. You know, his blame and divide and conquer strategy against Americans. You know, I felt like that when I was watching the State of the Union, but I watched those. And people were standing for things that were American values, the flag, God, all those things that the Democrats refused to stand for with President Trump. They didn't stand because it was President Trump. I saw many more Republicans en masse standing up in President Obama's State of the Union addresses. And that's because when he mentioned something that was American and unity and something that we can all stand behind, freedom and those good things, he stood up for it. And I just found I've never seen a State of the Union address quite like the one that we had last week. I mean, it was just appalling.
I'm going to have to leave it there because we are out of time.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you taking some time with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin just speaking out about the wild ride we've been watching on Wall Street. His comments next.
She was the victim of the most bizarre kidnapping in American history. Was she a hostage? Or was she a terrorist? The radical story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
At Safelite Auto Glass, we know that when you're spending time with the grandkids, every minute counts. And you don't have time for a cracked windshield. That's why we show you exactly when we'll be there, saving you time so you can keep saving the world.
We're wired with 100 billion nerve cells, so when aggravated nerves cause pain, use New Salonpas Lidocaine Plus.
One anesthetic numbs nerves fast, while maximum strength lidocaine
calms them for hours.
New Salonpas Lidocaine Plus. Also try our lidocaine patch.
From customizable plans to convenient delivery, HelloFresh delivers the food you crave, when and where you want it. Use code TV30 to save $30 off your first box. HelloFresh, get cooking.
Life happens everywhere, like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
Touch is how we communicate with those we love. But when your psoriasis is bad, does it ever get in the way? Embrace the chance of 100% clear skin with Taltz. Taltz is proven to help people with moderate to severe psoriasis achieve completely clear skin. With Taltz, up to 90% of patients had a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. In fact, 4 out of 10 even achieved completely clear skin. Don't use if you're allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or have symptoms, or if you've received a vaccine or plan to. Inflammatory bowel disease can happen with Taltz, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Ready for a chance at 100% clear skin? Ask your doctor about Taltz today and go to Taltz.com to learn how to pay as little as $5 a month.
With menopause, I expected hot flashes. But struggling to zip my jeans? I'm not ready for elastic waistbands.
Only Estroven Weight Management helps safely manage weight and relieves hot flashes. Safe, trusted Estroven.
Your insurance company won't replace the full value of your totaled new car. The guy says, you picked the wrong insurance plan. No, I picked the wrong insurance company.
With Liberty Mutual New Car Replacement, you won't have to worry about replacing your car because you'll get the full value back, including depreciation. Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-844-592-2089 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
A businessman consumed with power. A family obsessed with winning. And a dynasty destined for the presidency.
The Kennedys premieres Sunday, March 11th at 9 on CNN.
If you've been in an accident with a semi-truck, let me give you some advice. The trucking company has investigators on the case right now. So should you. Time is of the essence. evidence disappears. We have a crash team that can be on scene within hours. There are lawyers in our firm that only handle semi-truck cases. They eat it, breathe it, sleep it. All cases are not the same. Don't wait. Let's get started today. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
If ever you needed a definition of man's best friend, it's right here at Villalobos. Getting her off the street was just the beginning.
I always wanted to be part of something besides a gang.
There is a lot more work to do out here.
Pitbulls and Parolees, all new Saturdays at 9 on Animal Planet.
This program is brought to you locally by
Millie's Furniture, just what you're looking for.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Looking there, down about 200 points, as you can see on your screen on the Dow. It's been a little bit of back and forth between positive and negative territory after that record fall yesterday. The market's open for about an hour now. There was that short rebound earlier in the day. With us now to discuss, Art Hogan, Chief Market Strategist at B. Riley FBR Incorporated, and Richard Quest, host, of course, of Quest Means Business. We also just heard from Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. I just want to play really quickly for you both what he had to say.
The stock market is up significantly, over 30% since President Trump was elected. We're monitoring the stock markets. They're functioning very well, and we continue to believe in the long-term impact of the stock market.
Things are functioning very well. Is that all as well, Richard Quest?
Live by the Dow, die by the Dow. That's a saying that they have here in the market, which is a very good reason why presidents never usually comment other than to say they're watching it. Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, fell into the trap, unfortunately, when he reminds everybody that it is up 30%. In other words, he's saying, don't worry about the losses of the last 48 hours or the last 2 or 3 days, because you're still up overall. It's a very dangerous game when the market could be turning against you. What we are seeing, though, Erica, is a market that is extremely volatile. For instance, when I arrived here at the stock exchange just 40 minutes ago, it was up 170 points. 10 minutes later, it was down by a similar amount. Then it was down by 90 points. Now we're off 119. When you started this section of the program, you were off over 203. This is going to be the tale going forward until this corrective force finally wears itself out. Volatility, Erica, is what we will now expect for the foreseeable.
So we're expecting that volatility. There's also plenty of talk this morning, Art, that a correction was needed. And this is not something that people should be overly concerned about because we had seen gains for such a long time.
Erica.
Talking about a rise in wages. Those things are good for the economy.
Yes, but you see, what you're talking about are two sides of the same coin. As the market, look, as that job number gets better, the US is de facto at full employment. Yeah, we can discuss whether or not it's partial employment, underemployment, but in terms of full-time jobs, the US is just about almost there. And that's going to create wage pressures, and that's what we saw on Friday. Now, the flip side of that same coin is a Federal Reserve under its new chairman who will adopt the same policies as Janet Yellen, and that is a slow but steady, data-dependent rise in interest rates. Now, the market suddenly woke up to that on Friday. What I think, and I was listening very carefully to what Art was saying, I listened to very, very, very closely. What we're going to look for now is when the correction is over and that trading sideways before you get a future direction. So, I mean, in sort of market lingo, we've come down. Now we've got to work out how far we're coming down and how long. So the last correction, for example, lasted for several months, where the market just goes backwards and forwards, up a bit, down a bit. It drops, but it holds its nerve and then starts the ascendancy again. Now that's what we're going to be looking for. We're not there yet. We're still looking on the downside, but we're looking to see when that happens.
Well, we'll be watching for that. We're going to have to leave it there, gentlemen. Appreciate you both joining us. Art Hogan, Richard Quest, thank you. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says he believes the FBI needs a fresh start. Hear what else he has to say about the Bureau next.
You're a rich girl, and you're going too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway.
I'm a soldier in the People's Army.
The Radical Story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And for psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
Need any help, sir? Yeah, I am looking for something soft, but not too soft. Maybe a goat, maybe a sheep, as long as they won't break a cracker. Is buttery a thing? I like buttery.
Some hotel websites are just too complicated. Click here and select that. What? A registration? What's up with all these pop-ups? And now they tell me it's fully booked. What a waste of time. All I really want is a good 4-star hotel with Wi-Fi, a spa, and to have Kitty with me. By simply telling Trivago what I want from my hotel, I find it for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
Today, we're finally getting our bathtub redone. We weren't happy with it.
But we didn't want the headaches of demolition.
Or the days without our bathroom. Then a friend told us about Bath Fitter and their unique tub-over-tub process. There's no demolition, and they install in as little as a day. They also have a seamless wall for a watertight fit. And Bath Fitter has a lifetime guarantee. What a difference. Finally, a bathtub I love.
Call today or learn more at bathfitter.com.
Guys, need to lose some weight? Tired? No energy? Can't get off the couch? Then you need Nutrisystem for Men. New for 2018, our best program ever. Now lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month. Money back guarantee.
I lost the weight and I have way more stamina. My energy is way up. 245 pounds gone.
Order your 28-day plan right now and we'll rush you Nutrisystem for Men with specially designed meals. Plus 1 week of all new NutriCur bars free. 1 week of all new NutriPro shakes packed with 20 grams of protein to help shrink your gut free. And 1 week of all new Turbo boosters to rev your metabolism free.
The food was delicious.
If you're like me and you like to eat, this is what you get to do.
Pasta, pizza, so good. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free.
My grandkids have to keep up with me now.
Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month.
Do it. Do it now. Don't wait.
Go online or call 855-922-EASY and get Nutrisystem for Men with bars, NutriPro shakes, and turbo boosters free.
Closed captioning brought to you by Herpes-NL. Do more for cold sores.
For a cold sore, I use Herpes-NL. It penetrates deep to treat. It soothes, moisturizes, and creates an SPF 30 barrier to protect against flare-ups caused by the sun. Herpes-NL.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions says there has been a, quote, erosion of confidence in the FBI and the Department of Justice, telling the Washington Examiner, I have believed it was important to have a fresh start at the FBI, and actually it was in my letter to the president when I recommended Comey's removal. I used the words fresh start, and the FBI director is Chris Wray, a very talented, smart, capable leader. Joining me now, Asha Rangappa, CNN legal and national security analyst and former special agent at the FBI. When you hear those words from Jeff Sessions that a fresh start is needed, number one, do you agree? And number two, what does that look like?
Well, it's interesting that he believes there's been an erosion of confidence, since a lot of that erosion has been a result of a lot of the politics that have taken place surrounding the Mueller investigation instead of just letting it continue unimpeded. I don't know what he means by a fresh start. Most FBI agents are civil servants, career civil servants. They're there because they felt a sense of mission, and they have protections. You can't just fire everybody in the FBI and then hire people anew. And they also have a lot of institutional expertise in their various areas, so it would be a very bad idea for us to do that. I will note, though, Erica, one thing that caught my ear when you were reading that statement is him referencing his letter on why Comey needs to go. And I think there could also be a secondary motive of trying to affirm that there were good reasons to fire Comey and not illicit ones that Mueller might be looking into. So just a note there.
And an important note, in terms of the Mueller investigation, there is new reporting this morning, of course, from the New York Times, that the president's attorneys want him to refuse an interview with special counsel Bob Mueller. And this comes on the heels of CNN reporting from last week that the president's attorneys were arguing that the Mueller team hadn't met the high threshold it needed to have a face-to-face interview with the president. This could be pushing things closer to perhaps even a subpoena, despite the fact the president has said he looks forward to sitting down with Robert Mueller. How far do you think this gets pushed?
Well, this particular question of whether the special counsel could compel the president to testify in front of a grand jury hasn't yet been decided. So they could push it all the way to have it legally decided by a court. I think that it's an uphill battle for the president because the criminal process is given very high weight by the court. When there is information that someone can provide, even the President of the United States, they aren't immune from having to participate in that process. What it does, though, Erica, is it buys them time. Listen, if I were the president's lawyers, I wouldn't let him get near Mueller, within 20 feet of Mueller. You just don't want him to talk in an interview to agents in front of a grand jury because the likelihood of committing perjury is very high. But this allows them to put it off and avoid some of the political downside of, say, having to take the Fifth Amendment, which would be his other option and may not look good in the court of public opinion.
We've talked so much over the last several days about the different memos. Obviously now the Democratic memo is in the hands of the president. He will have to decide whether to release that. The New York Times, though, is also, as we're talking so much more about the FISA court and about requests, is requesting to see those documents. These are documents that have never been revealed since, of course, this act was enacted in 1978. And you, in your role, also used to obtain FISA warrants. A, do you think that request by the New York Times would ever be granted? And B, what kind of information could then be out there?
I don't think that request should be granted. This is an ongoing investigation, Erica, and the whole point is that there are multiple sources and methods and investigative tools that have gone into providing the evidence for the underlying affidavit that would have led to a FISA order. So they would not have just relied on the Steele dossier. Some of those are incredibly sensitive. They could be overseas human sources who are in genuine danger if they are outed. So this needs to go through an internal review with, say, the Office of the Inspector General. If there is a true concern that the FBI didn't follow its procedures or didn't provide enough evidence, all of that needs to be done in a secret classified setting with a report that comes out. This is not something that the public can really assess, and it would be bad for our national security for all of that to be released at this point.
Asha, always appreciate your insight on these matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
The moment of truth nearly here for billionaire Elon Musk. His Falcon Heavy rocket, it's the world's most powerful rocket, is set to lift off from Kennedy Space Center in a matter of hours, and we're there.
The modern man values craftsmanship, confidence, and hard work. At Joseph A. Bank, we create classic menswear tailored for the modern man, because looking good is a tradition that never goes out of style.
Okay, folks, let's get the lady of the house back on her feet and help her feel more strength and energy in just 2 weeks.
The complete balanced nutrition of Ensure with 9 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. Ensure, always be you.
Are you hiring great people?
I get more talented people through the door through Indeed than any other job search that I use.
Indeed delivers 6 times more hires than any other job site. Post a job in minutes, and Indeed will help you zero in on just the right candidates. Plus, there are no upfront costs or long-term contracts.
Nothing has ever been this easy, this simple, and this effective.
Right now, start your first job posting with free premium placement. Search for greatness. Indeed, the world's #1 job site.
I was born during the winter of '77. I first met James in 5th grade. We got married after college and had twin boys. But then, one night, a truck didn't stop. But thanks to our Forester, neither did our story. And that's why we'll always drive a Subaru.
It's Golden Corral's Prime Rib and Shrimp Spectacular. Slow roasted prime rib, butterfly shrimp, bone-in catfish, and more. It's time to saddle up. The Prime Rib and Shrimp Spectacular, just $13.99 every night. Your choice rules.
This is where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy. Are you ready? Atlantis, Bahamas at heart.
Book by February 14th for the best winter rates at 1-800-ATLANTIS or AtlantisBahamas.com.
When you say you need a heart transplant, that's a whole different ballgame. I was in shock.
I am very proud of the development of drugs that can prevent the rejection and prevent the recurrence of the original disease.
I never felt I was going to die.
We know so much about transplantation.
And we're living longer.
You cannot help but be inspired by the opportunities that a transplant would offer.
My donor's mom says, you were meant to carry his story.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman.
Engines, the power of 18 Boeing 747s. And when it lifts off, it will also be carrying Musk's own cherry red Tesla. Rachel Crane got a chance to speak with Musk, and she joins us now. Rachel?
Erica, this is a huge day for SpaceX and space exploration in general. Once that Falcon Heavy behind me has liftoff, it will become the most powerful operational rocket in the world by a factor of 2. And people are flocking to Cape Canaveral and Cocoa Beach to see this historic flight. I mean, the hotels are sold out. The parking lots are jammed. There are mile-long lines to get into Kennedy Space Center, and we're still hours away from launch. Also, the Kennedy Visitor Center sold out viewing tickets to this launch, thousands of them, in just 24 hours. Now, I had the opportunity to speak with Elon Musk yesterday ahead of today's launch about the excitement surrounding this launch. Take a listen to what he had to say.
It's the biggest rocket in the world by far. It's like the first time something exciting has happened in rocket launch in a very long time, apart from, our boosters landing. Whether the rocket succeeds or fails, it's going to be exciting. People are coming from all around the world to see what will either be a great rocket launch or the best fireworks display they've ever seen.
Erica, he went on to say that it's really a miracle that this rocket is able to hold itself together at all. It's basically 3 of their Falcon 9 rockets held together. But, firework displays are great, but everybody here on the ground at Kennedy Space Center and really around the world is rooting for a successful launch today.
And once that launch ideally is successful, what does it mean other than, getting this very powerful rocket up there? What will it do?
Well, it would be a huge accomplishment for SpaceX and really for space exploration, because SpaceX is able to pull off this launch. They will do it for just a fraction of the cost of what other heavy lift rockets cost per launch. It would just be $90 million. Elon Musk says that they also can carry twice as much payload into space and go much heavy lift rockets on the market currently. Erica?
Which could be fascinating to see where that takes us next. Rachel Crane, appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for joining us. I'm Erica Hill. At This Hour starts right now.
Hi there, I'm Brianna Keeler in for Kate Baldwin. Buckle up for another white-knuckle ride on Wall Street today, just 90 minutes after the opening bell. The Dow has bounced violently in and out of the red, the volatility coming just one day after suffering its largest single-day point loss in history. It also erased all the year's gains and raised the political stakes for a president who has seized credit for its breathtaking climb recently. And I want to begin this hour at the New York Stock Exchange. That's where we find CNN Money correspondent Christina Alessi. Christina, tell us how things are looking and what the mood is like.
Well, when I walked in this morning, it was red across the board. In fact, it looked like it actually was a correction at the open. That is a 10% drop from the most recent high. Stocks bounced back from there, and now we're just bouncing around. In fact, the main story today is that volatility is clearly back in the market. In fact, if you look at the volatility index, it has hit the highest level in about 2 years. Now, look, I know this looks scary on the screen, but many investors say this is a perfectly normal thing to happen. If you really think about it, we've had a stock market rally for 8 years now, and the markets are overdue in many metrics for a correction here. And you layer on top of that a very strong jobs report, which we had last week, that showed wages were increasing. That stoked fears that the Fed would actually raise rates faster than anticipated, and that would drive some investment actually out of bonds and into other assets out of equities and into other assets like bonds. So that's what's going on here. But look, it's anybody's guess as to what happens from here. We could see another drop. I spoke to some investors today who said stocks are still relatively overvalued to their historic averages, especially when you look at the price relative to how much the earnings they're throwing off. So there are a lot of factors to monitor here. Certainly a bumpy ride, but for most viewers at home, they shouldn't probably pay, and this is something that Christine Romans talked about all morning, most investors probably shouldn't be paying attention to each little movement in this stock market. This, for right now, seems like a pretty healthy correction and one that was overdue. What investors don't like to see are these sharp dips like the ones that we saw yesterday at 3 o'clock. That's concerning, and there are some indications that it may have been caused by some technicalities, probably computer trading, algorithmic trading, that sort of thing, Brianna.
Interesting. All right, Christina Alessi, thank you so much for updating us from the floor of the stock exchange there. I want to bring in our panel to discuss this more. We have CNN Chief Business Correspondent Christine Romans. We have CNN Global Economic Analyst Rana Foroohar and Diane Swonk. She's the Chief Economist at Grant Thornton. Okay, Christine Romans, to you first. And I want to ask all of you this. What are you watching for this morning?
Well, you know, I'm watching to see if this thing bottoms, and so far it looks like it has here, but I'm hearing from folks that some of these online trading outlets weren't able to accept trade. So you're hearing from regular investors that they weren't able to sell or in some cases buy. So you still might have some price discovery, as we call it, happening here overall. I would also caution people here that this could be bumpy for a bit. You know, corrections sometimes can take a long time. We haven't had one in a couple of years, and that one lasted, I think, like a month, you know, of trading where you saw some recoveries, but then setbacks as well. So watch for that. That's, I think, really important. And also remember, the Dow is just 30 stocks. So we talk about the biggest point loss ever for the Dow. Remember, it was a 4.6% decline yesterday. That's not even in the top 20. The S&P 500 is really what you want to keep watching. That's the broader stock market gauge. That's what the experts watch. It's got 500 stocks in it. It is an index, not an average. And that's still up 20-some% since the election. I don't know where we go from here. No one knows where we go from here. This is a bull that's long in the tooth, but the economy is strong, and I think that's really important to remind people. The economy is strong, and that's one of the reasons why the stock market is having trouble here, because of what that means for the bond market.
Rana, what are you keeping your eye on?
Well, you know, I'm actually looking at the bond market. We're spending a lot of time on stocks, and that's totally understandable. Most of us have a lot of our money in stocks, but there is, as Christine said, where there's going to be a lot of volatility. It's going to be up and down for weeks, maybe even months. The bond market is what a lot of smart investors look to. Are bond yields going up or down? That will tell you a lot about what the longer-term inflation expectations are. And inflation is a big deal. You know, if you look at what has kept the market so high over the last few years, it's been kind of a triumvirate of pretty decent global growth, low inflation, and low interest rates. We're now moving into a world potentially of higher inflation and higher interest rates. How fast that happens and whether or not the economy overheats, whether or not you start to get asset prices falling and then people feeling, you know, a little less confident about the
growth with the price, that we are seeing a warming trend in the economy. We don't want to see a heat wave. As long as it's just a warming trend, we can absorb those higher interest rates. That is expected. That's more normal. But if we get a flare because, say, tax cuts or additional stimulus at this late stage of the game allow overheating, then we've got a larger problem down the road where we've got growth today at the expense of growth later in the cycle.
I wonder if you can, Diane, fact check something for us, because, you know, we see some Democrats who are pointing at the tax overhaul and they're saying this is why we are seeing this. We actually saw stock prices rise on anticipation of tax cuts. Now they're saying this is why we're seeing this correction. I mean, what do you think about that, Diane?
I think it's a confluence of events. It was sort of the perfect storm. We had some very good economic data, which reinforced views that all of a sudden the Fed was not just maybe gradually raising rates, but maybe a little more aggressively. We've had synchronous world growth. This is not just happening in the U.S. We're seeing the idea that inflation will pick up again and wages will pick up again is a global phenomena. Then you put on top of that we are taking on more debt. The Treasury announced last week that they're going to have to issue more debt at the same time that the Fed is not playing the role it once did in putting a ceiling on those long-term rates. And all of that came together to give us the market we have today. I don't think putting any one excuse on it or one blame is the way to look at it. It was a confluence of events that, frankly, the market had a hard time pricing up until this point.
Rana, what do you think?
Well, I'd love to jump in on that because, I completely agree with all of that. There's not just one trigger to what's happening in the last couple of days. But I think the Democrats actually have a fair point when they say that, hey, did we really need any extra stimulus? Did we need that stimulus of a tax cut at this point in a recovery cycle? I mean, we've been in a recovery since 2009. It may not feel like it to most of us, but we have been. So in some ways, we're actually due in the next few years for a slowdown. If you look historically, recovery cycles tend to last about 10 years. That's where we are. The president, of course, wanted to goose growth. That's what he ran on. And of course, Republicans want to get through the midterm elections with growth being strong and people feeling wealthier. And so I think that there is a question about whether the tax cut was appropriate policy right now.
Christine. Democratic response to the controversial Nunes memo. The president now has just days to act. So will he clear its release? We will be live at the White House. Plus, President Trump calling on Democrats who didn't cheer for his State of the Union address. He called them un-American and treasonous. We're going to ask lawmakers from both sides of the aisle how they feel about that. Stay with us. Of your
Are the credit cards in your wallet actually the best ones for you? At NerdWallet, we sort through over 1,200 credit cards to find the top cards for balance transfer, travel, earning rewards, and other perks. Using your unique info to narrow the search, NerdWallet makes it easy to find credit cards that work harder than the ones you have now. Stop missing out. Visit NerdWallet.com to find the cards that are made for you.
How they feel about that. Stay with us.
I lost 50 pounds on Jenny Craig, and you can too.
Introducing Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks. Pasta, pizza, burgers. You get to eat really good food 6 times a day, and you don't even have to cook. The program includes a personal weight loss expert who understands men. None of that group meeting stuff.
This is the best program for a busy guy.
Now lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food, and get $100 in free food. Hurry, this offer won't last long.
There are plenty of good booking sites, but your ideal hotel may only be listed on one or several, but for very different prices. You really want to check them all? Instead, use Trivago to compare these offers and find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
Your insurance company won't replace the full value of your totaled new car. The guy says, you picked the wrong insurance plan. No, I picked the wrong insurance company.
With Liberty Mutual New Car Replacement, you won't have to worry about replacing your car because you'll get the full value back, including depreciation. Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-844-592-2089 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Every time I smiled, I had to cover my mouth because I was so ashamed. When the denture slipped, I would have to excuse myself and go to the restroom virtually in tears. It kept me from being able to speak properly. I could not eat corn, apples, baby back ribs. I did not want dentures to be part of my life. I pretty much decided dental implants were the route I was going to take.
Let's do a head-to-head comparison of dental implants versus dentures. With dentures, the ability to taste food, to bite and chew is altered. The worst thing about dentures, bone loss. When you put an implant inside the bone, which is like the root of a tooth, now you preserve the bone. It's a game changer. With implants, you walk into a restaurant, you order anything you want. You eat just like you have real teeth.
Before you knew it, here I was with my brand new teeth.
Schedule your free consultation today. We'll even talk about financing options.
I can smile, my confidence is back.
Call Clear Choice today.
You have one of the worst cavities I have ever seen. Have a good day.
Aren't you gonna fix it?
Well, I'm not a dentist. I'm a dental monitor.
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it? LifeLock does more than free credit monitoring to help protect your identity. Join starting at $9.99 a month.
Wayfair, you got just what I need. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much fun. Easy as a click, and done comes quick. It can even look crazy. That's fun and done, baby. Get a deal done. My fancy looks fun. Just kick back, relax. With Wayfair, you're done. You know the feeling. Yeah, that's the one. It's the feeling of done and done. It's so much fun.
Bring home the feeling at Wayfair.com.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Closed captioning brought to you by OnlyMeso.com.
Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Call for the free book and receive
Closed
so much
captioning brought to you by OnlyMeso.com.
Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
The clock is ticking at the White House. President Trump has until the end of the week to decide if he'll fight the release of a memo from Democrats. It challenges strong accusations made by their Republican counterparts on the House Intelligence Committee, chief among them that the Justice Department abused its authority in the Russia investigation. President Trump has wholeheartedly embraced that GOP memo, saying that it totally vindicates him. CNN's Caitlin Collins is at the White House with more. Caitlin?
Yeah, Brianna, we're actually learning a little bit more about this. We know that the memo is over here at the White House. The president has 5 days to decide whether or not he's going to block the release of this memo. And a source familiar with the process just told my colleague Jeremy Diamond that the president is going to act off of the recommendations of the FBI and the intelligence community, saying specifically, quote, he'll accept the recommendations of those two groups. Now, that's interesting because last week when we were going through this entire process with the Republican memo written by Devin Nunes, the FBI actually pleaded with the president to not make that memo public, or keep that memo private and not make it public because of national security issues and whatnot. The FBI did not want that memo coming out, to the point where they put out a very harshly worded, defiant statement saying why they did not want that memo becoming public. So it's interesting now that the Democratic memo is over here, that this is the line of thinking with this White House, that they're going to go off the recommendations of that. But that's what the White House is maintaining right now, Brianna. The press secretary, Sarah Sanders, put out a statement this morning saying that the White House has received the memo, and she went on to say, as stated many times, the administration will follow the same process and procedure with this memorandum from the minority as they did last week when it received the memorandum from the majority here. Now, two things to note with this is the White House said they're following that same procedure, but we know that last week after the State of the Union, the president was caught on a microphone saying he was 100% going to release that Republican memo, and he had not even read it yet. Now, the other thing to look for with this memo is if there are going to be any White House initiated redactions with the Democratic memo, because we know that there weren't any with the Republican memo. But right now, the clock is ticking, Brianna, and we're waiting to see what the president is going to decide with this memo, which is substantially longer and certainly not as flattering for the administration as the Republican memo was.
Certainly not. All right, Caitlin Collins, thank you so much at the White House for us. Amid questions about whether the White House played any role in the creation of the controversial memo, the man behind it, Devin Nunes, had this to say to Armani Raju just moments ago.
Did the White House have any role in your memo, sir?
Democracy dies in darkness, my friend. Get to work.
Well, this comes as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are pushing for President Trump to release the Democratic rebuttal. CNN congressional correspondent Sunlen Serfati joining me live now from Capitol Hill. Interesting. Nunes certainly didn't respond. He had his own little phrase there, the catchphrase of the Washington Post. What's the expectation that this Democratic memo is going to be released, Sunlen?
Well, at this point, we simply do not know for sure, Brianna, as you heard Caitlin say there from the White House. But I think the expectation is that there certainly is a great amount of political pressure on President Trump to declassify this memo, and potentially that's what he might do. It certainly was a strong message being sent by the House Intelligence Committee. The fact that last night they voted unanimously to release this memo, send it over to the White House to make that decision. And certainly we've heard from Republicans saying, look, people need to see this. They believe in the interest of transparency. And we heard from Adam Schiff, one of the lead writers of the Democratic memo, the ranking member on that committee, saying essentially the fact that the Republican memo, the Devin Nunes memo, was released last week gives weight to the argument that this Democratic memo needs to be released. Here's what he said this morning.
I think it's going to be very hard for the White House. They've tried to make the case that they released the Nunes memo in the interest of transparency. So to say, well, we don't want the country to see this, I think is untenable. What I'm more concerned about, Allison, is that they make political redactions. That is, not redactions to protect sources or methods, which we've asked the Department of Justice and FBI to do, but redactions to remove information they think is unfavorable to the president. That could be a real problem, and that's our main concern at this point.
So again, right now the ball is essentially in President Trump's court to decide whether he declassifies it or not. The White House says that they're reviewing it, are evaluating it. Of course, they have just 5 days from yesterday to make that decision. Brianna.
Sunlen Serfaty on Capitol Hill, thank you so much. I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Rick Crawford of Arkansas. He is a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Sir, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, so you voted to release the Democratic memo. Why do you think that it's important that it's out there for Americans to see?
Well, I think it's important to compare and contrast. We brought forth the Republican memo, and at the time that we did, we offered the Democrats the opportunity to do the same. They came out with their memo. We voted unanimously to support that. But it'll have to follow the same procedure. It was first released to the House, as ours was. The House had well over 200 Republicans that viewed that, probably around 50 Democrats. At last look, I think they had somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 Republicans and about 55 Democrats had viewed the Democrat memo. So, it's obviously very important to us, but we want to see, let them put their memo out there, because I think you'll see an interesting contrast.
Oh, I'm sure that we're going to. I wonder, when you looked at it, was there anything in this Democratic memo that you think needs to be redacted to protect sources and methods?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we'll defer to the FBI and DOJ to make that call. But yes, we want to protect sources and methods. But I agree with Adam Schiff that I hope that the political contents of this are not redacted, because I do want folks to see the tone of this memo is very political and not substantive. Ours was fact-based on the information presented to us, which we had a very difficult time extracting from FBI and DOJ, and that in and of itself is part of the problem. But I do want the American people to see the political dynamic and the tone of the Democrat memo.
I just want to be clear to make sure that I understand you, because Congressman Tom Rooney, also on the committee, also a Republican, told Mani Raju that he doesn't think there's much in the Schiff memo that needs to be redacted in his opinion. So are you saying that you think it needs to go through the process of being examined, or are you saying that
on the information presented to us,
you think there are things in it that do need to be redacted?
And DOJ. I think they need to follow the process just as ours was. The FBI got eyes on ours, and I think they certainly need to look at the Democrat memo as well. And then after that, it'll be up to the president to release it to the public.
Okay, Congressman. So this is what Adam Schiff.
Sources that funded that dossier initially, that originated the order for the opposition research, and then how that became not only just opposition research, but then ultimately the basis for the request for a FISA warrant. I think this is problematic at every level. And let me also just clarify that this is not about trying to malign the FBI or the DOJ. It's about enlightening the American people with regard to a handful of individuals at the highest levels who were making a political issue out of this and exercising their own political values.
Adam Schiff, as I'm sure you're aware, has made the point that in the FISA warrant, it was clear that Christopher Steele, the author of the dossier, wasn't told specifically who the political operator was behind this, and that the court was made aware of that. What do you say to that, considering that point you just made?
Well, there was no evidence that the FISA court was made aware of who funded the dossier. That was a fairly large omission, number one. Number two, Andrew McCabe, former deputy director of the FBI, said as much. And you can pull the transcript and see where he acknowledged that the Steele dossier was a critical...
Can I just be clear then, is Schiff, in your estimation, being accurate about this? Because what he has said publicly is that there was a political operator behind it, Steele, who's obviously, his motivations would be key in this, right? Because he's the author of it, that he was operating in the blind without being told specifically who the political operator was behind it. And that, pardon me, the FISA court had been told that there was a political operator, but that Steele, the author behind it, was operating in the blind. I mean, do you take issue with that?
I don't understand how you could make the assertion that Steele was operating in the blind when he was specifically contracted to provide opposition research on Donald Trump. So I mean, you know, putting two and two together here, you think somebody that's asking for opposition research, probably it's the opposition. So he's researching and compiling a dossier on Donald Trump. I hardly think that's in the blind.
Okay, so you think he easily could have extrapolated from this clearly. I do want to ask you about Steve Bannon. He's scheduled to appear under subpoena before your committee today. Do you think you're going to see him?
As I understand it, that has been delayed again. And look, we need to go where the facts lead us. And there's some facts he may have that they need to be made available to the committee. I hope that he'll reconsider and make every effort to come and participate. What lengths should the committee go to? Do you think that the committee should hold him in contempt if he doesn't agree to sit? I'm going to let that be referred to the principals on the investigation and let them make that determination. How important is it to you to hear what he has to say? Well, I think it's important. I think that because each side of this has brought forth a witness list, and he was one of those individuals on the witness list, and we agreed to that, and that's fine. The problem is that every time we get another witness in, they ask for two more. And so, you know, it seems like the more we cooperate, the more they move the goalposts. And so I'd just like to see this investigation wrapped up and us be able to present our findings. All right, Congressman Rick Crawford, thank you so much. Member of the Intel Committee, we do appreciate you talking to us today. You bet. Thanks. Still ahead, we are on the brink of another shutdown, right? Here we are. Again, lawmakers still cannot seem to get on the same page. The House is set to take a crucial vote today, but the Senate is already pushing back. Stay with us.
You might take something for your heart or joints, but do you take something for your brain? With an ingredient originally found in jellyfish, Prevagen is the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide. Prevagen, the name to remember.
The modern man values craftsmanship, confidence, and hard work. At Joseph A. Bank, we create classic menswear tailored for the modern man, because looking good is a tradition that never goes out of style.
I was born during the winter of '77. I first met James in 5th grade. We got married after college and had twin boys. But then, one night, a truck didn't stop. But thanks to our Forester, neither did our story. And that's why we'll always drive a Subaru.
You don't always use your smartphone to update your status.
We'll find him, okay?
You don't always use it to read the latest posting.
Aw, little girl lost her dog. Wait a minute.
You don't always use your smartphone to friend someone. But when it matters most, you count on TracFone.
I think I found your dog.
Our new smartphone plan gives you talk, text, and data for just $15 a month with no contract, with nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Visit your nearest retailer today to start saving with TracFone. TracFone, for moments that matter.
I take pictures of sunrises, but with my back pain, I couldn't sleep and get up in time. Then I found Aleve PM.
Aleve PM is the only one to combine a safe sleep aid plus the 12-hour pain-relieving strength of Aleve.
I'm back.
Aleve PM for a better AM.
I promise to have and to hold from this day forward, your sickness and in health until death do us part.
SelectQuote can help you keep your promise with life insurance starting at under $1 a day.
But you promised, Daddy.
Come on. SelectQuote helped Michael, 41, keep his promise by finding him a $500,000 policy for under $26 per month, and found Vanessa, 37, a $750,000 policy for just $22 per month. Since 1985, we've helped millions of families by finding them affordable coverage by impartially shopping highly rated insurers offering over 70 policies.
Dad, don't be late. You promise? You promise? You promise?
I promise.
Keep your promise. Call SelectQuote at 800-707-3532 or visit SelectQuote.com for life insurance coverage starting at under $1 a day. We shop, you save.
You're a rich girl, and you're going too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway.
I'm a soldier in the People's Army.
The Radical Story of Patty Hearst premieres Sunday at 9 on CNN.
If you have a plumbing emergency, don't call just any plumber. Call an expert. Wesley Wood Service Experts. With around-the-clock plumbing service, plumbing problems don't have to be a hassle. We'll take care of your drains, faucets, sinks, water heaters, food waste disposers, gas pipes, and more. And all of our services are backed by our 100% satisfaction guarantee. Now get $25 off any plumbing service. Call Wesley Wood Service Experts at 866-EXPERTS.
This winter, shop QVC for everything you need to relax and unwind after a long day. Rejuvenate your look with new beauty. Reboot your electronic gear. Recommit to your healthy lifestyle. Find great brands and new deals every day. Get $5 off your first purchase with promo code 54U. Shop now on QVC.com.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
This morning, sources tell CNN that President Trump is willing to authorize the release of the Democratic memo based on the recommendation of the FBI and the intelligence community. I want to discuss this with CNN political commentator and former senior communications advisor for the Trump campaign, Jason Miller. Also with us is CNN politics reporter and editor-at-large Chris Cillizza. And we also have the former Deputy Secretary of Labor under President Obama, Chris Lu, with us. Okay. So let's talk about this Democratic rebuttal to the Nunes memo. Jason, I wonder what you think. So the Nunes memo was detailing alleged abuses by the FBI, by the DOJ. Do you think that it serves the president to release this? Does he have much of a choice? What do you think?
Well, as I said last week, I think we should have both of these memos out, and I think we should have the supporting source material as well. And I think at the end of the day, once both of these are out and we take a look at it, a couple things are going to be true. Number one, there's still not going to be one shred of evidence that says that President Trump colluded with some foreign entity to swing the election. And second, I think the other thing that'll be very clear is Adam Schiff still remains the greatest hype man in Democratic politics. I mean, he's basically like the Don King of House Democrats. You know, first with the Nunes memo, the sky was falling. Everything was going to be terrible. Now with this memo, there are going to be all these great revelations. I'm sure it's going to be all bluster. And what we're going to find is, going back to 2016, that there was way too much politics at the top levels of law enforcement. And now that we have a fresh start, like the president was talking about, let's just let law enforcement do their job.
Some of the trickiness of this for Republicans, for the White House, Chris, is going to be redactions, because this is classified information. Right. There could very well be something in there that shouldn't be released. However, Republicans, their memo was not redacted by the White House. Does that sort of tie their hands on how they handle this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to note what you did and to keep noting it, which is the Nunes memo and its release was unprecedented. I mean, we don't see this happen all that often. So now I think Jason's right. I mean, I think the president probably will let it go through. We're now going to see another one of these. So unprecedented times too. Yeah, these have become political documents, whether they were intended to be so or not. At the start, I kind of think they probably were, but whether they were intended to be so or not, they have become political. You're so nice for you.
You're like, maybe they weren't, maybe they were.
I don't know.
Like, oh, you're so nice. I always feel like Chris will give me the benefit of the doubt.
My strong guess is that they were, but the point is they are now.
Yeah.
And so any redaction will be taken as a sign that, well, if you would see, it's the old, well, you can imagine what he wanted to say. You know, and it's going to be some of that. I mean, I think ultimately, I'm actually with Jason in that I don't know that either of these are the smoking gun that either side wanted. I know conservatives insist the Nunes memo, I should lump some conservatives think the Nunes memo, now that it's been released, it proves once and for all that everything is totally fine and that Donald Trump is exonerated. I don't think it does that. I also don't think the Schiff memo is going to say, oh my gosh, here it is, the smoking gun we've been waiting for.
Chris Lu, you're nodding. You're nodding along. What do you think?
You know, I think the challenge is for Democrats. I mean, if this were a criminal defense case, the prosecution hasn't made its case at all, and the defense has poked all kinds of holes. At some point, they might just be better off resting at this point and not putting their memo out there. But clearly, whether it's Jason or the congressman you just have, there's still a lot of people out there who think that the Nunes memo says more than it says. So for the sake of completeness, you're better off putting this out there. But I think in the end, this is a wash. It'll be kind of a 2-week dust-up, and the Mueller investigation will continue.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the market, shall we? Let's talk about it. Okay, so you had this headline, Chris Cillizza.
Yeah.
Live by the Dow, die by the Dow.
Yeah.
Well, living by the Dow, that's something the president has done by setting some pretty high expectations.
The stock market has smashed one record after another, gaining $8 trillion and more in value in just this short period of time. The United States is doing fantastically well, better than we've done in decades. The stock markets are incredible. And you're seeing what's happening with the stock market. People are appreciating what we're doing. The stock market is way up again today, and we're setting a record literally all the time. And I'm telling you, we have a long way to go. And had the other side gotten in, the market would have gone down 50% from where it was.
You said that the Democrats are hype masters, Jason Miller, but I don't know. I'm looking at the president there. He set some high expectations, Chris Cillizza. The problem with that is now you have to manage them.
Yeah, I mean, the stock market, presidents get too much credit for the stock market going up and down and the economy doing well or poorly, and they get too much blame when it does worse. That said, I thought what Raj Shah, the White House spokesperson, said yesterday afternoon was basically right, which is the fundamentals of the economy are, this is unlike 2008 when John McCain said
those words.
doomed his campaign. The fundamentals of the economy are much stronger than they were in 2008. I think most independent analysts agree with that. The problem is that comment runs counter to the president of the United States having made all the comments that you just made, which is, yes, we shouldn't get overhyped about a 1,000-point drop. It's not great, but we shouldn't get overhyped about it. But if you are overhyping on the other end, then it's hard to then say, well, the drops don't matter, but the increases do.
It is a double-edged sword, Chris.
It absolutely is, and it's a reason why presidents generally don't talk about the stock market. President Trump would be on much safer ground talking about job gains, wage gains, and it's important to understand the stock market fall comes after a pretty strong jobs report last Friday. You know, but the challenge ultimately for the president is the stock market not only goes up and down, but it's an imprecise measure of what the economy is. Only about 50% of Americans own stock, whether individually or in a 401k. But Chris is right. The fundamentals of the economy are strong right now.
How can the president, Jason, effectively manage this as people are, biting their nails looking at the stock market? Because 50% of people do have investments in the market.
Well, I think most folks who have money in the market are not biting their nails. They're taking a look at the overall growth in the economy. And I think Chris made a good point where it's always important to talk about the economy, not just in terms of the market, but also in terms of the wage growth and the jobs growth. And, Chris, if you look back at your days with President Obama, I mean, you would have given your left arm for numbers like these. See the 3% wage growth, seeing the jobs going up. And again, that's what made the market have the downturn, which I believe will be temporarily, is because wages are going up so much. I mean, important to keep in mind during the election that President Trump only lost union households 51 to 42, a phenomenal number. And the reason why is because he campaigned on higher wages and more jobs. We're seeing exactly that a year into his term. So I think most people look and know the market's going to correct himself. It's not always the complete indicator of what's going on. Sometimes you have Main Street versus Wall Street, but overall the economy is sound. It is great. And the point to the market is about 18,000 when he got elected. Now it's at 24,000, shifting around a little bit. That's up a third in this stretch. That is phenomenal.
I am out of time, Chris Cillizza, but I'll have more time for you tomorrow. As always, you're on every day with me.
I'll write my thoughts in my personal Word document that I keep on my computer.
I appreciate it. You can send it my way. Chris Cillizza, Chris Lu, Jason Miller, thank you so much. Okay, so is the worst behind us, or are we in for some more pain? Up next, we're going to go back to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We're going to try to make sense of these wild swings in the market.
Guys, is this you? Busting out of your pants, no energy or drive? Then you need Nutrisystem for Men. New for 2018, our best program ever. Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month. Money back guarantee.
I'm Essex, and I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem.
I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Put down the wings, pick up the phone, and get with the program today. Order your 28-day plan right now, and we'll rush you Nutrisystem for Men with specially designed meals. Plus, 1 week of all new NutriCur bars free. 1 week of all new NutriPro shakes packed with 20 grams of protein to help shrink your gut, free. And 1 week of all new turbo boosters to rev your metabolism, free.
The food was delicious.
Pasta, pizza.
If you're like me and you like to eat, this is what you get to do.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes, and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping, free.
It was perfect for guys like me who don't like to cook.
Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month.
It's simple. You eat the food, you lose the weight.
Go online or call 877-919-THIN and get Nutrisystem for Men with bars, NutriPro shakes, and turbo boosters free.
We're wired with 100 billion nerve cells, so when aggravated nerves cause pain, use New Salonpas Lidocaine Plus. One anesthetic numbs nerves fast, while maximum strength lidocaine calms them for hours. New Salonpas Lidocaine Plus. Also try our lidocaine patch.
We do whatever it takes to fight cancer. These are the specialists we're proud to call our own. Experts from all over the world, working closely together to deliver truly personalized cancer care. Expert medicine works here. Learn more at cancercenter.com.
Angie's List has collected millions of verified reviews of local home service providers, and now they're free for everyone to read. Either search for a pro or get matched to a few who can do the job. Go to angieslist.com now.
Ways to lose stubborn belly fat. The Roasted Core Wrap.
3, 2, 1.
Not cool. Freezing away fat cells with Cool Sculpting, now that's cool. Cool Sculpting safely freezes and removes fat cells with little or no downtime and no surgery. Results and patient experience may vary. Some rare side effects include temporary numbness, discomfort, and swelling. Ask your doctor if Cool Sculpting is right for you and visit CoolSculpting.com today for your chance to win a free treatment.
Hey man, could I get a pound of the flank, a pound of the ground sirloin, and a ribeye?
Yeah, I thought you were vegan.
Yeah, I'm paleo now. I'm flexible. And give me just some of that, surprise me.
Running a business is not for the faint of heart. Luckily, Office Depot Office Max is here to take care of you.
Taking care of business.
With print services. Done right, on time, guaranteed. Expert tech support. And this week, all Office Depot brand paper is buy one, get one, 50% off. Plus, never run out with an Office Depot paper subscription. Subscribe today at OfficeDepot.com/subscriptions.
Taking care of business.
I'm your phone. Stuck down here between your seat and your console, playing a little hide and seek. Cold. Warmer. Warmer. Boiling. Jackpot. And if you've got cut rate car insurance, you could be picking up these charges yourself. So get Allstate, where agents help keep you protected from mayhem. Like me.
Mayhem is everywhere. Are you in good hands?
Closed captioning brought to you by Herpes-NL. Do more for cold sores.
For a cold sore, I use Herpes-NL. It penetrates deep to treat. It soothes, moisturizes, and creates an SPF 30 barrier to protect against flare-ups caused by the sun. Herpes-NL.
A day after the Dow's single biggest point drop in history, the markets are still seeing big swings. I want to check in again now with CNN Money's Christina Alessi. Christina, what are you hearing from traders there on the floor?
Well, you said it. Big swings. Volatility is back. That's what I'm hearing on the floor. That's what I'm hearing from my sources on the phone. We're bouncing around right now. But just to give you a sense of how big the swings were, when I came in this morning, we technically had a correction. We went into correction territory. We came back from there, and to put some numbers around this, Brianna, at the open we dropped over 500 points. People are just simply saying, look, things have been stable for too long. So there's nothing.
Hashtag GOP tax scam creates enormous deficits paid for by working Americans. Then GOP-controlled House and Senate do absolutely nothing to raise debt ceiling and pass a real budget. All this could lead to catastrophic default. So you ascribe this volatility. Can you explain to us entirely to the actions of the president and congressional Republicans?
Well,
Is that fair?
I think it's an enormous part. And, you know, it's true that there's volatility in the stock market, but investors are not stupid. They look at an economy and they look at the things that are coming up and they make their assessments about where the economy is going to go. And when you see that we're about to go into our 5th continuing resolution and we have no plans around how to raise the debt limit because Republicans who control the House, the Senate, and the White House have refused to talk to Democrats about how to get the votes that they need to raise the debt ceiling and to make sure that we're passing a permanent budget. Investors look at that and they say, wait a second, this is crazy, on top of the fact that we've just increased the deficit, you know, substantially, and now we're going to have these increased interest payments. And so they're looking at all of that and saying, whoa, 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 this is not a market that we want to take a chance on, and that's why you're seeing these enormous drops. Is it entirely...
Well, what if this stabilizes and then you have the president able to point to good jobs numbers, you know, a bump in wage growth? I mean, then by that logic, doesn't he also get credit for that?
Well, the president hasn't been able to point to that. He's been using isolated instances of companies, you know, giving a bonus or increasing jobs. But for every one of those instances, there are other instances pulling them back into shareholder profit or saving that money, which is one of the things we knew might happen. So we're not seeing, you know, the kind of evidence for any kind of a boost to the economy. And if we did, I'll tell you, Brianna, it would be very short term, because once again, you know, we haven't resolved these longer term issues. And I worked in banking for several years and ran my own nonprofit organization, kind of like a small business for years. And we are constantly having to evaluate. That's what the stock market is. It's an assessment of whether or not there's a stable economy. This president is so outrageous on so many fronts and makes claims that he has no backing for, and then increases the deficit to a point where, you know, I think people have forgotten that Republicans used to be seen as the fiscal conservatives. They're certainly not anymore.
I want to get to what the president said yesterday and have you react to this.
You're up there. You've got half the room going totally crazy, wild. They loved everything. They want to do something great for our country. And you have the other side, even on positive news, really positive news like that, they were like death and un-American. Un-American. Somebody said treasonous. I mean, yeah, I guess why not? You know, can we call that treason? Why not? I mean, they certainly didn't seem to love our country very much.
I have a couple questions about this. The first one, which we'll dispense with, is his talking about treason, is Sarah Sanders saying that was clearly a joke. Will you just react to what you heard?
I think it is so disturbing that we have a president who would use that word in a campaign context to really, diminish what treason really is. I mean, this is a president who is increasingly looking very desperate. The Nunes memo was a big flop. The only thing that showed to me was that this president is terrified of what the Mueller investigation is actually going to reveal. To talk about individuals sitting in a chamber reacting to false claims and things that the president is saying that they find offensive and not rising, to call that treasonous is pretty, I don't even have the words to describe how beneath the office of the president that is.
To his other point, which I want to ask you about as well, he's saying that essentially, if you extrapolate from what he said, Democrats could be in the place where they're looking like they're cheering against good news, right? Good economic news. Is that a problem for you if Democrats look like they're cheering against something that could be good because it favors Republicans politically?
The problem is the president claiming credit for a long-term trend. I think he might have been actually referring to his comments around African American employment numbers unemployment numbers going down, when in fact we just saw that in the first year, for the first time, we are actually seeing those numbers go up. He's taking credit for something that President Obama put a lot of time and energy into. So I'm not worried about us looking bad. I'm worried about what he's using the office to do and the ways in which he continues to perpetuate claims that have no basis in reality.
Congresswoman, thank you so much. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal with us today.
Thank you so much.
So still ahead, with the government on the brink of another shutdown, the House is set to take a crucial vote today. We're going to give you the state of play next.
At Massage Envy, we're committed to being the best we can be. It's required that we're carefully selected and thoroughly trained, so you can be confident in us, and we're confident you'll be at your very best.
Now get a free session when you join Massage Envy.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH, and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
I remember my stay at the Blue Beach Hotel in Miami and the amazing view I had from my hotel room. It's been a while. What if there's a huge skyscraper in front of it now? Thankfully on Trivago, I can look up recent reviews for this hotel from Trivago's trusted sources. Trivago shows you whether these reviews are positive, neutral, or negative, so you can make the best decision. It works for me. That's just one more way Trivago helps you find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
After brushing, Listerine Total Care strengthens teeth, helps prevent cavities, and restores tooth enamel. It's an easy way to give Listerine Total Care to the total family. Listerine Total Care. 1 bottle, 6 benefits. Power to your mouth.
Are you hiring great people?
I get more talented people through the door through Indeed than any other job search that I use.
Indeed delivers 6 times more hires than any other job site. Post a job in minutes, and Indeed will help you zero in on just the right candidates. Plus, there are no upfront costs or long-term contracts.
Nothing has ever been this easy, this simple, and this effective.
Right now, start your first job posting with free premium placement. Search for greatness. Indeed, the world's #1 job site.
Seeing is experiencing. Seeing is discovering. Their sight is a gift. Take care of it by visiting an eye doctor yearly. Find one today at thinkaboutyouryes.com.
It's Golden Corral's Prime Rib and Shrimp Spectacular. Slow roasted prime rib, butterfly shrimp, bone-in catfish, and more. It's time to saddle up. The Prime Rib and Shrimp Spectacular, just $13.99 every night. Your choice rules.
In just days, Publishers Clearinghouse awards the $5,000 a week Forever Prize. Win $5,000 a week for your life. Then after that, someone you choose gets $5,000 a week for their life. Don't miss your final chance to win. Enter at PCH.com and February 23rd. Win forever.
A businessman consumed with power, a family obsessed with winning, and a dynasty destined for the presidency.
The Kennedys premieres Sunday, March 11th at 9 on CNN.
It's an American tradition. The President's Day sale at Raymore and Flanagan. Our quality, service, and deals are winners. Save 26% on this unique sectional, 20% on this classic queen bed, and lifestyle adjustable bases start at just $5.99. That's with no interest for 72 months and the freedom of 7-day delivery. Find something you love at the President's Day sale, only at Raymore and Flanagan.
This winter, in the state with more ski mountains than any other, family fun reaches a new peak. So whether you're a speed demon or more of a snow angel, your winter chariot awaits. Pick the best peak for your family getaway at iloveny.com. New York State. It's all here. It's only here.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
We are less than 72 hours away from another government funding deadline and the possibility of another government shutdown. The House plans a vote on a short-term spending bill that would keep things running through March 23rd. House Republicans have the votes to pass it, but there's no commitment from the Senate to back it. Joining me with more now is CNN congressional correspondent Phil Mattingly. What's the latest there, Phil?
Yeah, so it's not as easy as you would think it would be at this point, but look, we've been through this multiple times. Brianna, this is now the 5th short-term funding bill that they will consider this Congress, and as you noted, House Republicans are very clear. They have the votes to move their iteration of the short-term bill forward. They're going to do that probably around 6:30 or so tonight. Here's the problem. There are 60 hours left until the government officially runs out of money, and what the House is going to send over to the Senate across the Capitol has no future in the Senate. What the House bill actually does is it, as you noted, extends government funding through March 23rd. It also includes a full defense appropriations bill on top of that. Senate Democrats have made clear, Brianna, they are not good with that. That will be stripped out. What they put in its place is now the big question. There are intense negotiations between Democrats and Republicans in the Senate. In fact, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer just a short while ago walked out of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's office. What are they talking about? They're talking about a budget caps deal. Now, this is something that's been going on for the last 6 months or so. It's always been very, very close, but just out of the reach of both parties. Basically, it would increase defense spending and increase non-defense domestic spending, something for both parties. If they can lock in that deal, that opens a wide array of things that they can attach to a short-term bill. That's what they would like to do if they can actually get there. Now, if they get there, though, that means they're going to have to send it back to the House, where House Republicans aren't so keen on all of that. So I know this is a little bit confusing. Luckily, you've covered this place. You know it quite well. But basically, here's the deal. 60 hours left. The House is going to pass something today. That has no future, and there are still multiple steps to go in that period of time. When you talk to aides in both parties, nobody thinks there's going to be a shutdown. Everybody's confident that things are going to get wrapped up before the deadline. They're just not totally sure how yet. So that's where we stand, Brianna.
It's fun to cover, I will say that, Phil, but it is a mess once you're looking at this from off the hill. Who knows, maybe the 5th time will be a charm here with this short-term funding measure. You never know. Phil Mattingly on the Hill for us. Thank you so much, sir. And still ahead, a wild day on Wall Street after yesterday's record-breaking dive. We're going to get some insight from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange after a quick break.
Attention homeowners. Quicken Loans has some very important information regarding the U.S. government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. We've told you about HARP in the past, and we're happy to report that nearly 3.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of this fantastic money-saving program. But there are so many more of you who could be saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. Quicken Loans is here to help you save your money. Why Quicken Loans? The home loan experts at Quicken Loans fully understand the HARP guidelines. We'll work with you to understand your specific circumstances and strive to find the financial solution that's best for you. Then we'll guide you through each step of the mortgage refinance process to make sure that it's both simple and easy. And for 8 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 4th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. If you're not familiar with HARP, it's a U.S. government program designed specifically for homeowners who have little or no equity. A great feature of the HARP program is that most HARP refinance loans do not require an appraisal, and there are fewer income verification requirements. That makes it simpler, easier, and even faster. And even if you've been denied for a HARP loan in the past, new guidelines mean that you now may be eligible. Give us a call and we'll give you a Quicken Loans mortgage review. And we'll do all we can to help you save money on your mortgage. It's simple and easy. Find out if you're eligible to take advantage of today's incredibly low interest rates and start saving money every month on your mortgage.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-888-760-3357 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Getting settled in a new home can be unsettling.
Xfinity Home.
But with Xfinity Home, you're connected to live video right on your TV.
Howdy, neighbors. Brought you a pie. Made it myself.
Really good. And you're protected with 24/7 professional monitoring with fast response time. Xfinity Home. Connected, protected, home. Add Xfinity Home from the fastest growing security provider for just $24.99 a month for 2 full years and get free installation. Call, go online, or visit today.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Welcome to Inside Politics. I'm John King. Thank you for sharing your day with us. A roller coaster on Wall Street. The market dives, rallies, then falls off again. Volatility is the word of the day. Plus, the president's lawyers don't want him talking to the special counsel because they worry he can't tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And as Congress debates yet another short-term spending plan, the defense secretary says he's frustrated. The military can't make long-term plans. And he tells lawmakers, grow up.
It is not lost on me that as I testify before you this morning, we are again on the verge of a government shutdown or, at best, another damaging continuing resolution. As hard as the last 16 years of war have been on our military, no enemy in the field has done as much to harm the readiness of the U.S. military than the combined impact of the Budget Control Act's defense spending caps, worsened by operating for 10 of the last 11 years under continuing resolutions of varied and unpredictable duration.
Secretary Mattis has a point, and we'll get to it in a few moments. But we begin with another day of extreme volatility on Wall Street. The Dow whipsawed between losses of more than 500 points to gains of nearly 400 points. This after the index suffered just yesterday its largest single-day point loss, in history. Right now, you can see right there, the Dow up a little bit, close to even for the day, even a little up. A stomach-churning few days, but in the grand scheme of things, a small blip in a 9-year bull market. Here's one way to look at it. If you had $100,000 in an S&P 500 index fund on Election Day 2016, well, you had $134,000 when the market hit its all-time high on
peak just a few weeks ago, and then a couple of minutes after that we had a big 200 point spike after that. So you can see these big swings all day today. Look, what's driving this? It's the fact that we've had stability for so long. You know, one trader told me on the floor today, you know, stability breeds instability, and that's the theme of the day. You layer on top of that inflation fears and the expectation that the Fed will raise rates, that has investors anticipating that people will pull money out of the stock market and put it into other assets tied to the rising yields. And that's what's driving these moves fundamentally. But look, these market corrections are, in some part, very healthy. What investors don't like to see are very dramatic drops, like the one that we saw, yesterday around 3 p.m. That, in large part, was driven by some algorithmic trading, some computer programs, and that's the kind of stuff that gets people really nervous. But a 10% correction at this point, most people are saying is pretty healthy. We'll have to see where we go from here.
Up 32, 33 at the moment. Christina, we'll watch it during the day. You're in for a nice ride. Hang in there. We'll touch base later as developments warrant. For a president who brags about every Dow milestone and every new market high, yesterday, of course, had to hurt. So today, administration officials are rushing and pushing a consistent message. They say, overall, the economy is doing just fine.
The fundamentals of this economy continue to be very strong.
I'm not overly concerned about the market volatility. I think the fundamentals are quite strong.
The economic fundamentals are really strong.
You get the message there. With us today to share their reporting and their insights, Molly Ball of Time, CNN's Jeff Zeleny, Sahil Kapoor with Bloomberg, and the Wall Street Journal's Greg Ip. Greg, let me start with you. To Christina's point, this happens.
It sure does.
It's not pleasant when it does 1100.
Look, it hasn't happened very much for the last 9 years. I mean, this bull market has been marked not just by its extraordinary strength, a tripling in value since 2008, but the very calmness of it. We haven't had a 20% bear market in that period of time. That's very unusual. 10% corrections used to come along every year or two. We haven't had one of those in several years. So yeah, people are getting used to the idea that markets do go down as well as going up. The other fundamental factor going on here is probably the single most important driver of that bull market has been the willingness of the Federal Reserve and central banks in other countries to keep interest rates near rock bottom levels and to actually pile on by going out there and buying bonds. There are growing signs that that period is at an end. Central banks don't need to do that any longer. So people are grappling with the fact that they are losing that very important source of monetary support.
And so interest rates may start to go up. I just want to show the real economy because, again, if you're invested in the market, if you're planning to retire yesterday, you probably got a little panicked. If you're in for the long haul, you get a little whiplash. But unemployment, 17-year low. Wage growth, fastest rate till 2009. I'll come back to that in a minute. Consumer confidence, their 17-year high. Strong holiday season retail sales, relatively strong corporate earnings. The wage growth part, though, is that part of the inflation concerns that we're seeing? That it's a good thing if average Americans are seeing their wages go up, but that also tells the market that means inflation may go that way.
Right. There are congressional leaders, particularly on the Republican side, are arguing that the wage growth and the fact that the Fed is expected to raise rates, essentially, as a result of the tax law that they argue creates a sustainable economy that can raise rates and that can do well down the road. Politically, though, it's obviously concerning for the White House. I think they've admitted that this morning, but it's still very early. The election's a long way away.
It's a great point because I covered the White House for nearly 10 years, and they tell every new person who does a communications job or every new policy member, don't talk about the stock market. Talk about the big things. Talk about the employment rate if you want. Talk about wage growth. Talk about this. Talk about that. Don't talk about the stock market. This president has thrown that out the window. Most of his team has thrown that out the window. So listen to the Treasury Secretary, who understands Wall Street. He was up on Capitol Hill this morning, and suffice to say, you're not supposed to talk about it, but he's paying very close attention.
They have been quite volatile today. I normally wouldn't be looking at my iPhone, but given the market moves, I'm checking it. It's now up 187 points, so we're back up today.
Well, the administration has claimed credit for the markets going up. Are they going to claim credit when the markets go down?
Again, I think we'll still claim credit for the fact that it's up over 30% since the election.
In the conversation, is there anything Washington specific to this? Greg mentioned the change at the Fed. There are some concerns there. You go from Janet Yellen to Jerome Powell. But for most part, in the last several months, the markets, have loved the tax cut plan. They've loved the less regulation from Washington. Is there something Trump-centric to this, Trump administration-centric to this?
Sure. The one question is how much of this was built into this market? Everyone suspected that the tax cuts were likely to happen last year. Never mind the dysfunction in Washington. So the market didn't really climb because of that. It was already built in. So that, I think, is the question here. But one thing I was struck by yesterday, those 6 words, the fundamentals.
something Trump-centric to this, Trump administration-centric to this?
Sure, I mean, the one question is how much of this was built into this market? I mean, everyone suspected that the tax cuts were likely to happen last year. Never mind the dysfunction in Washington. So the market didn't really climb because of that. It was already built in. So that, I think, is the question here. But one thing I was struck by yesterday, those 6 words, the fundamentals of the economy are strong. We all remember